Once again, everyone, this is English Speedrun Restreams and our English restream of RTA in Japan Winter 2025, raising money for Doctors Without Borders. Next up is Romancing SaGa 2, Revenge of the Seven, casual version 1.1.0. This is a bit of a long run, but we do have two commentators to talk about this run for you all. If you two would like to introduce yourselves.
All right, yeah, thank you, and hello. I am Denho, and Desa and I spent a lot of time routing the speedrun for this game when it came out. So yeah, we're both excited to talk about the game today.
We spend way too much time on this. But yeah, I'm Desa. I, as Dana mentioned, also wrote a lot for this game. Also ran the game a lot. And yeah, been looking forward to Shoes run on 1.10. I don't know if he's actually got. He's probably using 1.12, but it doesn't make it.
No, I think it's actually 1.10 because he said he might do the warp glitch.
Oh, right.
Like that was patched, right? So.
Yeah. Fair enough then.
Yeah, I guess while we're waiting, we could already since we talked about the patch version and stuff already.
Yeah.
So 1.1 actually, like that update came out along with the Switch 2 upgrade, which like it changed a few things and it seemed like it changed more things, but actually we found that some of those changes in the data do not actually reflect in the gameplay for some reason. But the first version of the game had a lot of glitches, or at least like some very significant glitches, like duping and something like that. So that's a very different kind of run. Then we had the 1.02 for a long time, which is like relatively glitch-free for the run. And now 1.1, which like it has a bit of like balancing changes, but in the end, for a category like this, it's not going to have like that big of a difference.
Yeah, like the balancing changes are mostly regarding some of the abilities you can obtain throughout the game, as well as regarding defensive abilities of armor, which on casual mode the armor isn't as significant. It's still like nice to have those improvements, but overall we're not gonna be looking as tightly on those defense numbers. While what I alluded to, or like I wasn't sure about at the start whether he's running 1.12 or 1.10. The only difference in those is that the most recent version ended up fixing a few remaining bugs. Among those, an infinite height glitch. Or infinite height might not be the most accurate description, but the easiest way to describe it. As well as a warping glitch, which Shu mentioned he might want to showcase, which allows us to skip a decent portion of the final dungeon. And it looks a little funny depending on how he performs it as well.
Now, I did notice, looking at the incentives and bid wars that are open for RTA in Japan right now, we do have a bid war for what music to have on for music choice, either the original or the remake. And it looks like right now it's a very, very close race. It looks like the remake is in the lead with 47,000 yen and the original has 44,000. So if you wanted maybe hear the original music, ! Donate, and put your donation towards that incentive.
Yeah, I would say the the new music is definitely very good, but of course, the SaGa series just generally has really good music, and like also did like back in the like Super Famicom days, and of course, the original soundtrack. It is in fact very original sounding, very nostalgic. If you're into like that kind of style.
Yeah, the amount of SaGa games there are, I first played this game, and the song variety is not even as big as it seemed to have been in other games, but it's still a really good soundtrack, despite not having as much variance between the different tracks. Or like with the amount of tracks there even are in this game.
Yeah, it's like after Romancing Saga 2, they started like getting like more creative with the soundtrack, like kind of like trying like new kind of styles and like being a little more out there.
Not just tried, they like succeeded in my eyes. Like after this Romancing Saga 3, absolute blast in terms of music. The more modern titles like Emerald Beyond, also really good music. So, actually, no, I guess I haven't played that one yet, but Romancing Saga 1, I assume originally didn't have that much of a variety in music either, but I don't know if they changed it with Minstrel Song.
Yeah, it did change with Minstrel Song quite a bit.
Okay.
Like Romancing Saga 1, like for its time, like there were some like standout tracks where people were like this is something really different that I'm like not really used to something like this. But Minstrel Song, well, it both like emphasizes those differences and also like it kind of just adds more on top of that, because like there is some like content that's like not in the like original Super Famicom version, and there's some songs that like even if the content is like roughly the same, just like new songs entirely.
I like this tower animation. Pretty funny they have in the background.
Yeah, these animations are all amazing. They're amazing every single RTA in Japan. This time is celebrating their 10th year of events, and they've had these this art from every single past RIJ in this stacking minigame.
Oh.
I assume they probably have some kind of algorithm for stacking, or is there someone in the background constantly playing this game?
Who knows? I've seen the same stacking multiple times, so I think it is just pre-rendered.
Okay.
Oh, that, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if I was the programmer of like making like a dynamic background where it's like doing all the physics like in real time for the stream, I would be very worried that it's gonna go wrong during the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
I mean, we have seen speedrun events that have live co-op playing on the break screen. So. I do also really like this this block that they have to the right for fan art. For any fan art that's posted with a hashtag to have on stream.
Mm-hmm. I've seen like a few pieces here and there. I don't know if those are also collections from the last years.
Yeah, it shows fan art as well as donations that come in, which is new this year.
Oh. I did notice like 1 or 2 donations popping up in the top right with like the donation amount and text that they may or may not have provided.
Mm-hmm. Now this stack looks like it's mere seconds away from falling.
Mm-hmm. There's
it's
another
stacking though.
art piece.
Mm-hmm.
A smiley face in the camera.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that they managed to turn a letter of the alphabet into a mascot.
Mm-hmm.
Who's this? Maybe if they'll start at the same time, we'll have Dragosa and Shu race on accident. There's there are quite a few runners for the SaGa games because SaGa seems to be like predominantly Japanese film community, and same goes with Romancing SaGa too. Even though that one actually found a decent bit of traction in the Western world, the majority of runners are still Japanese. And there is, I guess, another marathon or something going on. RTA and BIIM. I don't know what that is. Or where they just finished a Fate Grand Order run for 60 hours? Wait, what?
Well, what kind of marathon is that?
I don't know, but oh wait. Well, it says 60 hours here, but I don't know. Oh wait, it's like a run that goes on through like multiple days. But yeah, now
it is just kind of like in the background as there's other things, or
no, I think for like overnight they just have that run playing in the background.
Okay.
But yeah, so Romancing SaGa 2 just has multiple different routes that are possible or viable, and we actually had a change in world record from one route to another. So now we have the, I guess now former and the current record holder performing the run at 2 different marathons simultaneously.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, ready to start?
ロマサガの時間だ
ー
RTA
Oh, they have
Can hear
Monta on
some
commentary as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I see.
こんにちは
Monta, another predominant runner of the game. He mostly focused on, I guess, changing up the categories a lot. Like he jumped to one category, shattered the record there for new routes. Then he went to the next category and the next category. And now he's doing like some minimum encounter runs.
私はオンラインでの参加ですが、現地には解説のお二人が
I
参
think
加して
he
くださってい
did
ます
that one and maybe he's going for a new venture or something. I'm not
はい
sure.
解説の楠拓です去年の RTA ジャンパンウィンターでシュウさんと一緒に解説を担当したご縁がありまして今作も解説させていただきますよろしくお願いいたします
Well, there's definitely
ありがとうございます
expertise there on their side.
Oh, 100%.
で世界記録を持っております。初の RTA in Japan で緊張しております。
We'll have to try to match that.
どうぞよろしくお願いします。
さあ、それでは
Don't worry.
今回寄付額投票で BGM 音源を決定いただいております。
After 600 hours of routing in 3 months, we should be able to. Yeah, so Romancing Saga 2 has different difficulties. We're gonna be. How this run is gonna be performed in casual mode, which there are 3 regular difficulties,
今回選ばれたのは
of which hard mode is what the original Super Famicom version was like, and then they decided to add a few easier difficulties as well. Casual mode actually being considerably easier because enemies are around 30 to well now we don't have like exact numbers anymore because turns out our what we thought was a lie, but around 30 to 40% less HP, and they deal a lot less damage to the character as well. To your
It seems
character.
like we ended up with the original soundtrack instead of the remake.
Yeah, I think I saw original as well.
はい。では、
Well, it sure sounds like it this well.
No, I'm
Yeah,
not hearing
looks
it.
like that ended up with 50,561 yen for the original and 48,394 yen for the remake.
Okay.
スタートです
All right.
ドラクです
Right at the start, you saw that there was a choice between a male and female character. Those are the like emperors you can choose for later parts of the game. They won't matter for quite a while actually, and they inherently don't have that big of a difference because they're basically just like really good in terms of stats. With the only real difference being that the female emperor is slightly better in the dexterity stat, while the male emperor is slightly better in the strength stat. But because the route we're going relies on dexterity stat, we go with the female emperor, even though the difference is not that big. There are runners who prefer just running with the male emperor because they like his voice more.
Yeah. Revenge of the Seven is kind of unique in terms of SaGa games in the sense that like you just have like full 3D movement with like jumping and everything. It's pretty fast paced actually. So like actually a lot of the run is like kind of about like just having like good movement and like there's even like some kind of like little tricks that you can do with the platforming in this game. Like it's not really like there aren't like, but there's like actually a couple like what you could say are like platforming sections, but for the most part not really. But just there's actually a little bit of that as well. But in terms of combat, it's also a little different from other SaGa games in that like you act one character at a time, kind of like Final Fantasy X, if you're familiar with that, or Octopath Traveler. Actually, speaking of Octopath Traveler, there's also like a similar weakness system where it's like enemy weaknesses are based on weapon type. And in this case, hitting the weakness, you'll deal 40% more damage and build up the overdrive gauge, which like lets you do like powerful combo attacks. So I'd say those are kind of like very like core things you will see throughout the run, and we also see some glimmers here, which is a SaGa staple, not a difference this time. So it's like when you're doing attacks, then sometimes you just like get a different attack, like the character comes up with a new skill, which is like generally going to be something stronger than what you had before, although there can be exceptions to that. But there are a few like key glimmers that you will need throughout the run. Like what you had there was just like oh, that's kind of funny, but you didn't actually need those.
I don't know if you might want feint for
feint maybe,
but hard slash not really. So those glimmers that we can obtain, they are generally RNG based, like it's all up to luck whether you get them or not. There are ways to manipulate them into your favor, because there's a little bit of a power level system. The game as a whole scales along with you. The more story you progress and the more battles you complete, not just encounter, but the more battles you win, the stronger the enemies get.
We have a little autosave trick here.
Oh yeah, right.
Hitting all the triggers and then loading the autosave to just like warp you.
So yeah, the game scales along with you. Like the more battles you do, the more story you complete, the stronger everything around you will get. And the stronger the enemies get, of course, you also want to be getting stronger, so you're able to glimmer or obtain stronger skills. But there's also some kind of like a sweet spot mechanic where the game increases the chance drastically if you're basically a perfect match for the enemy you're currently fighting. So for some of these glimmers, we want to try and get them at certain points, just because those points maximize our odds from like 5 to 10% all the way up to 20%. Which is going to be really useful because we're going to be relying on some of these glimmers.
Yeah, a funny thing is that I believe that like the way that glimmer probability works is basically exactly the same as original. The difference really is just that in this game, like enemies have like scaling stats, whereas like in the original, the scaling would be like it would just introduce new enemies, which would be like, you know, like recolors mostly, but also like to some extent new sprites. But in this case, it's more like just based on like the overworld model that you see what you're going to be fighting, and like different in different areas.
Now we're in the Watchman's Nest. I guess in terms of the story, we can also quickly go over that, as there's not really too much to it. There is this world which used to house the namesake of the game, the 7 Heroes. Revenge of the 7.
Oh, nice jump there.
Yeah, he did. Dodged those nicely. And so originally there were those 7 heroes. There was a calamity that was about to fall over the world, or fall upon the world, and the 7 heroes averted that calamity, but at the same time had to resort to measures where they would get quite a bit stronger, and I guess some parts of the old world didn't really like that, so they banished the 7 heroes right after averting said calamity. And now the 7 heroes are back with a vengeance, because they were obviously not happy about just randomly being banished from the world after apparently saving it. So the goal of this game now is that you have your Empire Avalon. We're currently playing the Emperor Leon. And throughout the game, we're going to progress throughout the years, get access to new characters and also new emperors. We're going to choose ourselves who will become the next emperor. It could be the mage we have in our team right now. It could be the marksman, the bow, the guy with the gray hair, Henry, I think it should be right now. We can just choose whoever is going to be the next emperor, and as we go throughout the game, progress throughout time, progress throughout the story,
Oh, nice
all the way
rush.
until we print the final emperor.
そこでウォッチ
Yeah, we got another skill, Shock Rush. That one's actually going to be pretty useful for an upcoming boss fight just because it hits the weaknesses a little bit better, and it just
Yeah.
generally is a stronger skill.
And I think that one was a 20% glimmer on that fight, right?
Yes, yeah, this one's 20%.
完全に入ったの
Yeah. Also, something to I guess we didn't mention before is that you could already change your party a little bit before this point. She made a couple changes there to the party, like having Emerald in the party is good for early game. Like it's Emerald is really just mostly good for early game. I guess she's also used for. Did she become Emperor in this route or?
I think so, because you still need the incantations lab.
Yeah, I suppose. So
I don't
that's a
think
little
she
bit of
stays
that as
Emperor
well.
for long.
But there's also like Henry who was added, who's just like good bow user for early game, and you might be able to get rapid volley, which is good for early game like AoE.
And then we also added in Lisa. We basically changed our entire party from like what we had at the start, being a tank, a ranger, and a so-called light infantry who's capable of using any weapon type, or efficiently using any weapon type, to a different kind of archer, a mage, and a different kind of versatile character, mostly because, as mentioned before, and there are a few stats in this game. Dexterity is what we chose as our preference at the start with the female empress. And the route that we're going to be following is the short sword route. There are several weapon types in the game. Different weapon types have different effectiveness on different enemies, but the short swords have some very nicely attainable, well, depending on how you look at it, mid game or end game or late game or end game skills. They don't take too much effort to get, and short swords are generally just pretty good because they're a one-handed weapon, meaning that your characters are going to be able to wield a shield on the other hand, or in their other hand, and it also scales with dexterity. It's a little bit easier to come by dexterity efficient characters early on than strength related characters, so that's another plus we have for the short sword in itself. And that's also why we go for Henry and Lisa, for example, because Henry is higher in dexterity than Therese is, I think, by 1 point. And Lisa is also higher in dexterity than James is, the other like male light infantry. Emerald, as mentioned, it's just a good DPS at the start of the game because we don't really need a tank, especially in this difficulty.
Yeah, and she also hits the weakness of the boss.
That as well, yeah. So we've seen Shu open up a few chests. We got a Lion Helm and a Lob Omen. The Lob Omen we got from the little Mimic. There are 3 Mimics throughout this place. They are... what was it? Like, one of them gives you an armor piece. The last one gives you money, but the second one is the one we pretty much always fight in any category ever. Plus maybe, where it drops a pretty good short sword that we're going to be seeing right here, because I think he equipped it on, he equipped it on Lisa, and he's dealing a lot of damage with that one. And then we also just picked up another armor piece to make our characters stronger, because something that's going to be very apparent in this fight, in most, I'm going to carefully say most SaGa games, but I guess in all SaGa games there's some kind of formation system, which you have more or less control over. In this game, you have full control over your formation, where you choose whatever formation your characters are going to be in. And enemy attacks are related to your character positions. It could be like a horizontal swipe, like that attack you just saw from Kazinsi, the boss we're fighting. It could be piercing attacks that just hit in a row, or AoE attacks that hit everyone. And this whole formation system is basically just a 5x5 grid, and your characters are positioned in different spots. Depending on where they are, they also have higher or lower a likeliness of getting targeted by attacks. So in our current formation, the front row character acts as a tank because they're going to be met with around 2/3 of all the attacks that come out from the enemies, while the one in the back is the least likely one to be targeted. I think it was 1%. The reason we have Leon in the back for that fight, though, is because specifically Cyclone, the swiping attack that boss used, always hits the Emperor if he's alive. Which, if you have the Emperor in the middle row, it would hit 3 characters at once. So we just have him stashed in the back because we know that it'll always hit him. Speaking of Leon, now we lost Leon. And the game has a really cool system with the inheritance system. I already mentioned that the game progresses through time. You can go from like the year 1000 to, what was the cap again? 4000?
Yeah, the technical cap is like somewhere past 4000.
So you can go through a lot of years throughout the game. In the speedrun, we usually only pass through like 200 to 300 years. Casually, you're likely going to be seeing like year 2000, maybe 2500 or something like that. And obviously, like, characters or humans don't really live that long. So eventually you're going to have descendants of the characters you're looking at right now. You have descendants of the mage, of the archer, of the versatile class that we're seeing right now, of the short sword, and they pass down their stats, their weapon proficiencies, to the next generation. Same goes for the Emperor, though, where Leon has now passed on his skills and abilities as well as the stats to his son Gerard, who originally was kind of more so a dead weight. We used him a little bit because he can hit weakness and fill up the overdrive gauge, as well as heal because he doesn't really deal damage. But now he's basically the same as Leon was, which is a pretty good early game attacker.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like inherent stats aren't that good, but like now his skill levels are like up there, and like that's more important.
His stats would actually be really nice for late game because he has really high dexterity, I think 22, which is...
Was it that high?
Yeah, it's higher than anyone else except for the female Emperor from the characters we use at the end of the run. I guess we use Hunter. Hunter also has high dexterity.
Yeah, Gerard actually has like a kind of unique quirk at the like start of the game before he becomes Emperor. Or I guess it's specifically that when your like skill levels are at 0, then it just takes forever to get a level. Like that applies to everyone to some extent. That it's like going from 0 to 1 is like it requires more than going from 1 to 2. But Gerard specifically just like barely gains anything.
Yeah, it's really cumbersome to get anything going on Gerard. And you just get Fireball for free on him, so you're like, might as well, and just like chuck some Fireballs at the end.
At least you get the overdrive from weakness.
Now, something that Shu did there is we added a character because in this game, your formation system is only really useful until someone dies. The moment someone in your party falls, your formation falls apart, and all the benefits, but also detriments that you might have from the formation, just vanish. The targeting becomes random. Like everyone's equally likely to get targeted. Any potential stat buffs you get from formations are gone. But the same applies to if your party doesn't include 5 characters. Leon died, so we had 4 characters in our party for a little while. We added a 5th character, Hector, who is a mercenary, mostly strength-based character. But he's also a decent tank, so we just have him chill at the front and take the brunt force of the attacks. But it also means that we have our formation back. So now he should be the primary focus of the
順調で
enemies.
すね。という
Which
わ
is,
けで
Yeah.
I don't,
この後
oh, he did give him a short sword. Okay, I wasn't
そ
sure.
して術技を使うのに
In this game, there's not really like a reason to stick with like smaller than max party. Like there's just like no benefit to it, really. Like some other like especially older games might have things like oh, you get more experience per character, or like I don't know, it's just like faster to go through the turns or something. But there's just like not really any benefit like that in this game.
The only benefit I can think of is that one video of some guy doing the secret boss with 2 characters. And the only reason that works is because with 2 characters, you know that either of those are getting targeted, so it's actually surprisingly consistent. It just takes a while. But
Well, I guess-
in regular play, you really don't want to not have full power.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we're playing Kazinsi again. This time it's kind of for real. You can tell by the music now. It's
Not ominous.
yeah. Now this is actually the 7 Heroes theme, which is like it's a very standout track from the OST. It's really nice, especially at the time. It was like really nice sounding. But yeah, this Kazinsi is a little bit harder, but I mean it is casual mode after all, so it shouldn't be too big of a problem. You can see he spawned that sword there. It's like a separate target, and yeah, you do want to get rid of that because you can just kind of get overwhelmed if you let the sword stay there.
Yeah, it has a move that can stun you, which can throw you off your track a little bit. The way this fight works is that he basically has 2 so-called HP gates, which we might refer to at some other point as well. Basically, just once the HP falls below the certain threshold, the boss progresses in its patterns. In this case, once he falls under roughly 60% HP, he summons the sword. And then he also starts using the Soul Steal attack. Initially, that Soul Steal was what ended the previous fight and where Leon died. But now this inheritance system, the idea is that, in this case, they know about this attack. So now Gerard, our current main character, can dodge it. Which means that Soul Steal is not going to be useful and we can actually complete the fight. And Soul Steal is actually going to become relevant later on in the game as well, but as a whole it's meant as an instant kill move. It immediately depletes all the life points of your characters, which I don't think we talked about life points, given that they're not that relevant in this speedrun, I guess. But it depletes all the life points of your characters and just immediately incapacitates it for good. And yeah, regarding life points, every character
Oh, that was
this
nice
game
timing.
has... Yeah, that was pretty good. Rapid volley. Every character has LP, which you can see on the stats screen. And if they deplete to 0, every time they get incapacitated, they lose 1 LP. If those LP deplete to 0, that character is gone for good. You can immediately go pick up their descendant, but for that fight specifically, you'll be lacking that character then. But it's not really something we really have to worry about in casual mode. And now we have Kazinsi then.
はい、というわけで、親と兄の敵を取って目下
Not really that complicated of a fight. It's more complicated in other categories because you have a potential to skip one of those cutscenes you just saw, but it's not guaranteed. So in those categories, you have to think a lot more about your turn order and the HP thresholds and all that. While here, you mostly just play the fight out, make sure the sword doesn't stun you, and hit the weakness as much as you can.
Yeah, like in the old version, it's like you might be able to get the skip, and then on the other hand, if you play on hard, it's just a hard fight. Like
Yeah, it's really difficult.
like you just kind of get one shot on hard mode for the most part. It's like you need a very specific setup where you can have a tank that can survive like one hit if he's full HP.
Yeah, most of the time when there's a change in routing or something like that, the first thing that is done and that takes up like almost a third of the time routing the entire run is just this initial segment, and predominantly that Kaczynski fight, just because it's really hard to get through. So we did a few things. There's a city building, not really minigame, but there's a city building mechanic in this game as well. We're supposed to be like the emperor of that region, so obviously we want to expand our empire with like new buildings and facilities. And whoa, okay, interesting. We added the blacksmith to our city, which means eventually we're also going to be able to get more weapons and new weapons. We mostly want to do that because we can upgrade weapons there, but we also want to make sure that we have strong short swords available for our party later. And then we also change our emperor. There's a few ways you can change emperor. You can either have a time skip, which just means your current emperor has done his job. I guess within the story, our emperor probably died because it's usually like at least 50 years in the future. And then you appoint a new emperor who takes over the empire. Very nice, yeah, that one's not easy at all. And in this case, we have Hector as an emperor, mostly because he can make really good use of the sword levels that our emperor currently has. The emperor is like an extra case in terms of this inheritance, where usually skills are only passed down within a class, but the emperor himself has, I guess, his own character or weapon proficiency levels, meaning that regardless of what the class is currently at with different levels, the emperor will probably be higher in some regard.
Yeah, the emperor actually like has this so-called inheritance magic available, which is just like kind of accumulating like all the power that the emperor is inheriting, while like everyone else is just like oh, what they can like pass on their like skills from like one class to like or like the next descendant of like that class, but that's it. Like they don't like accumulate everything that they've ever known.
I actually saw one interesting thing. He changed his party in Canal Fortress at the tavern, which I don't think anyone else does. Or I don't think I've seen anyone do that.
Oh, right.
Maybe that would be a little of an optimization.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, it's like you can get to a tavern really easily in the castle. Like there's like a fast travel point. But even so, like at least in RTA, like you might be able to avoid some extra loads if you skip that.
In general, like that barkeeper's right next to the guy you need to talk to anyway.
Yeah, like
all
it's
right.
really on the way.
Yep. So now we're going for Vicar. This is usually like the last big point at which the early game concludes in terms of routing and like what you want and need. You also saw that Shu made a safety save because in this fight we want to get a specific glimmer, which I'm gonna assume is Sidewinder. I don't think you changed that. So we want to make sure we get Sidewinder in this battle, just because Sidewinder is a really good skill and has the property of instantly killing any frog-type enemies. For some reason, this has been like a thing throughout the SaGa games where specifically frogs just have techniques they're weak against. I don't know what's up with that. But
there it is. Well, that was early. I mean, it is a high probability to get it here, but it's like, you know, sometimes you just have a bad day and you just never get it.
Yep. Which if you don't get it here, you would, well, in a PB attempt you would reset. In a marathon, of course, he made the save. He makes sure that he can just try again. The thing is that
バイカーの HP が少ないので
there's
この次の行動で水前を使ってくるので
so when you get a
そ
time
れをされる
skip,
前に連携で攻撃を
what
していきます
happens is that of course your current emperor abdicates or like dies or whatever, you get a new emperor, but all the other classes also progress in their
さて、バイ
lineage.
カーですが
So they all move over to the next version of their own character, which there are 8 versions of each character class, and then it just loops back to the first one.
とても危
So
険
there's only a finite number of characters you can get, and they're all entirely predictable.
モンスターたちの
But
HP も気にしていく
what matters is that upon a time skip, every technique you have learned so far becomes like available for future generations. You can kind of think of it as like someone in that generation comes up with a technique or strategy, and then during this time skip, that strategy or technique gets understood properly. Like they know how to do it so that everyone can do it. And then the sidewinder that we obtained just now, after the time skip that follows on this battle, everyone can then learn it in the dojo, provided they have the weapon
さあ
proficiency.
ここでお綺麗に決まりましたね
Yeah,
というわ
so
けでバイカーの
it,
パです
it really works out for like casual mode for this category to just like rush in here because
伴い
like
ジャンプも発生
the red lizard there specifically has the like highest glimmer level out of those enemies, and like that's like just right to get the sidewinder was a good probability. And well, you could see that even though it's in casual mode, he was dying there a decent bit. Like that fight is rough to just like rush in. So it's like it's only really like feasible on casual mode, and it just really works out this way.
今回もちょっと目的の
Pretty sure he wanted to get the mage just now because they were
Yeah, probably.
not happy about the emperor. So there's a few conditions to every single facility that you can construct. Usually it's only regions obtained or annexed, but there's also the magic building or the magic facility incantation lab that requires you to have a mage emperor to build it in the first place.
Well,
Which you can
just
get
need
mail
the levels.
I think wasn't the first one
No,
specifically.
it's just spell levels.
Okay.
But in the speedrun, like the only way we're gonna have enough spell levels is to inherit to a mage.
そして今、鍛冶屋に来てますね。装備の開発
Which, in this case, he didn't get a mage of the random selection of potential emperors, so he had to manually abdicate. After every time skip, you, depending on which class you had going out of the generation, you have a certain chance to get specific classes for the next generation. There's like 2 entirely random ones, and then 4 that depend on the class you just had. It's technically manipulatable, depending on just which classes you have unlocked and which you don't. For the most part, you're always going to have a slight off chance of not having the emperor. I think in this case, the chance is actually really high to get either of the mage. I want to say it's like 5 and 6 if the knowledge from the strategy guide is correct. But he didn't get it, so he had to manually abdicate to that, which is
Yeah. At this point, we're going to just like tour the entire world because that fight that Shu just did before is like it's the quickest way to like kind of open the entire world. There is another path that you can take, but it'll be longer. But like there's like kind of like an easier way to access the rest of the world. But the Canal Fortress is definitely the fastest. And you know, as it usually goes with like speedruns of like some kind of open world games, there's gonna be a section where it's gonna run around and like pick up some good stuff, which will make your life easier.
仕事ルートです。RTA ではこの世代に帝国大学を完成させる余裕がないので、タイム的にもいい仕事ルートを選択することになります。 さあ、これから道中アイテムを回収していきますが、これは金属用のアイテムを
Yeah,
回収してい
this
ます。
so-called world tour with having pretty much every region unlocked to us now allows us to also, of course, venture into regions that are kind of meant for later parts of the game. As mentioned, the game does scale with you, but there's still some kind of power level the game, I guess, doesn't really... there's like a little bit of a power level increase that the game expects you to have in some regions, because those
the enemy
just have
types,
inherently high stats,
yeah,
which while they'll scale along with you, just the base form is fairly strong compared to what you are. The way it works is, I think it has like it has base stats that are really high. And if you go from level 1 to level 2, it basically doubles in stats, because it just adds the existing stats on top. The base stats
that doubles HP, not all stats.
Well, yeah, HP. Yeah, HP specifically. Which, then you go from level 2 to level 3, which it just adds the base HP again. And then the further you go, the more often the base HP gets added. But of course, at some point, just adding the base HP for like the 10th or 11th time isn't going to make as much of an impact.
Yeah, the early levels are huge. Like, that's a big reason why that Viker fight is so rough, because by that point you will have an enemy level increase. So it's like, compared to what you were fighting before, like, now suddenly they just kind of have double the HP.
Yep. This does mean, though, that we can also go and get some equipment that is a lot stronger. Like, there's going to be one area, for example, that gives us access to a short sword that is honestly, like, perfectly late game viable. The Star of Illerina.
So which got on a ship and just turn on reverse gear and just like go backwards. Yeah, you just want to unlock that area for later.
Yep, because that area has the enemy of the second highest level, but like reasonably, I guess for like reasonable grinding, it's the best enemy to get high level skills. There's technically like an enemy or two that have higher levels, but those are
those are bosses or like
and bosses too. So it's only like fightable once, while that other guy is continuously repeatable. And now we're in the Melu Desert. So there are 13 regions in total in this game, and every region has a little bit of its own gimmick or like goals behind them. And in the desert, there is an oasis that we need to chase down, the Wandering Lake, and you need to encounter it 3 times before you actually are able to visit it. In this case, you can oftentimes see in the distance whether you get the Wandering Lake or not in this room. So what Shu is doing, he like enters one room, ventures to a point from which you can tell is it there or not. Like right here, you can tell it right from the entry. And if it's not there, he just goes to the next best zone. And if it's not there, then he goes to the third and last opportunity where you can get the Wandering Lake. There are only 3 set locations, and it's always going to be at one set location until you warp out of the desert or like leave the desert entirely. But while you're within like the desert region, it doesn't move around until you like actually interact with the Wandering Lake. It can be a little bit troublesome because there is, of course, a very much desired pattern that we want to go for, but it's not, at least to our knowledge, not manipulatable. There might be something like there seem to have been a few patterns we've seen in the past, depending on how many encounters you've gotten and all that. But I don't think there was ever like anything truly consistent we were able to determine out of it. I think now he's seen the Wandering Lake twice, so he's just gonna warp again to certain locations where he can quickly tell if it's there or not. In this case, he saw, okay, it's not there, so no reason to continue going. Meaning that it's going to be in the worst area, the stubborn mellow desert. In an optimal run, you'd be able to avoid this area completely, but now it's going to take like an extra 30 to 40 seconds to traverse through this and get the desert. Though he does use that opportunity to stock up on some money. Whoa! That dodge was good. So this passageway is already like really difficult to navigate because there are those sand pits that you can go into, and the moment you steer off the path and even just graze those sand pits, you're getting sucked into them, and you'll likely be met with an encounter that isn't difficult, but just a time waste because you need to get out of the sand pit and all that.
Yeah,
In this case,
make sure you have
really nicely.
make sure you have good contrast on your monitor so you can see where the line goes.
Yeah.
So you don't fall in.
Like on the Restream, the footage we're seeing right now was actually not able to really tell where.
Yeah, it's like it was kind of just like too bright.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's the Starfield Arena, which is it's just a really good short sword to pick up this early. Like it's kind of weird that they actually just have that here. It's like I guess they were just kind of like, well, there's no way no one's gonna come here right at the start of the game, right? But you know, you can, and it's like nothing's even guarding it. So
I think outside of the post-game short sword, there are only 3 that are stronger. Because with the smithy, you can usually create a low, mid, and high tier weapon. With some exception, but every weapon has like a low and a high tier. Some just don't have a mid tier. And the high tier short sword, as well as its upgrade, is stronger than what we have right now. And the upgrade of Starfield Arena itself is also stronger. But everything else is weaker. There are like 10 short swords that are weaker than what we just picked up for free, basically. Especially in older versions, this one's like a really, I guess, pivotal point, because in the original version of the game in 1.01, there was a glitch where you could duplicate your items in the inventory. Eventually, we also figured out that there are ways to get infinite money through that duplication glitch as well. But being able to pick up this short sword this early is good for any category, really. And especially if you can duplicate it, it's just absolutely ridiculous. But even now, we're gonna have this short sword. We're also gonna... Beating Vicar also unlocks short sword crafting, I think. So we're gonna be able to get the, I think, 2nd tier short sword before we start fighting bosses. I don't think we really have anything else to go with. Maybe we upgrade the Law Bowman, but I'm not entirely sure.
yeah, the good thing was like when you forge stuff in the smithy, then after forging in the next generation, you can just buy as many copies of it as you want. I mean, it can be a bit costly, but that's like the main way to like equip your entire party. While like stuff you find in the overworld, you just get 1 copy and that's it.
He's also been picking up all kinds of shinies throughout the way. These are mostly just for either money, if it's like a valuable thing, or crafting materials to create the short sword and maybe some armor along the way. Oh, Mad Badger. It's actually pretty useful.
Okay, I think he used Sidewinder, but glimmered something else, which was not ideal.
Alright, I guess he has Sidewinder on Jessica as well.
Yeah, but so here, like Blue Frog specifically, I think they're called like Frog Lords. Like they're like basically the highest tier frog enemy in the game. So, you know, they're pretty strong, and the TP reward they give, where like, you know, TP is basically like the EXP in this game. it's just really high.
こちら25万クラブで売ることができます。
And like, given that you can just one-shot the frogs,
カエルと戦うたび
you know, there's like a high-level enemy that you can start grinding right at the start of the game.
今回は
So this is like the way that you can get strong fast in the
He got two
basically
double
any
frogs.
category.
さて
Huh?
He got two double frogs as well, which is pretty crazy. A lot of times you only get like
ヘビのような
one frog, or
Yeah.
you can get like free
主にある
blue frogs as well.
出てきてくれましたね。
Oh, a
But
frog there.
you got two double ones. This frog is also really, really nice.
さて、
These snakes are luckily weak to short swords, so we can still dispose of them fairly
こ
quickly.
ちらは純粋に
But having frogs here is really, really nice. These snakes do also give good EXP though. And I see he changed to free for all probably because the frogs are fairly strong, so he wouldn't necessarily want
はい、
the
なりましたね。
はい、OK です。というわけ
like
で
one character to
富士
take the
山
full
と
force
戦
of
闘
them.
も終えて抜けまして、ユーヤンという
Yeah, I think that's what you kind of rely on casual mode.
一度アバロン城に戻ることになります。
Uh,
さて、
yeah, I mean, taking those fights is definitely not as like optimal as the frogs, but I suppose in this case it's just a question of like you just need like a little bit more than just those two frogs. So it's like, do you want to like reset the room and go all the way back, or just like take one other encounter on the way and keep going?
覚えることができるわけですね。というわけで、今回は
He's now teaching Sidewinder to everyone else because every skill, even though you unlocked it in the dojo, still needs a certain level requirement. To be able to glimmer a spell, you need one certain level, but once you unlock it in the dojo, the requirements lower quite significantly for some skills.
Yeah.
But it's still like not available for free.
Yeah, that's like the one kind of inconvenient part about this like Sidewinder idea. Is like otherwise you would be able to give everyone Sidewinder right away, and then everyone could one-shot frogs. But it just you first need a couple levels, so it's like those couple levels will take a little bit of effort before you can really get going.
さあ、格闘家の
Another thing I noticed is he didn't just so in Yauda, the little village he unlocked after grinding the frogs, there are a few really nice things because that one's also supposed to be like one of the later regions. If nothing, it's supposed to be like the last region you really tackle. Because I think outside of the final dungeon, that one is probably the most difficult one, or highest level. Which means there are also like good money chests, because the money you get in chests also scales pretty nicely. But he also unlocked Liangshan, which I guess there are a lot of pickups you can get for money too.
さあ、
I doubt he'll go for a ninja.
ここで連携を放っていきます。火力の高いメアリーとジェシカで
Yeah, there's no reason to go for a ninja. It's probably just for the money. Now we're fighting the Gel Matter, who, if you were to not fight Vicar right after the tutorial, this would be the secondary path that Denho mentioned you could be going on, where you would fight this Gel Matter, followed by another
という間に倒しましたが、奥に強い
2 dungeons before you get access to the rest of the world.
竜の穴の格闘家へ報告に向かいます。この竜
And
の
that
穴の
path just takes a decent bit longer.
リベルの治安を守る
Depending on your route, you might actually want to take this path because it's still manageable and you still need to go this path at some point because you do need to fight 6 out of the 7 heroes throughout the game. You will be fighting all of them at some point, but the way it works is that you have 7 heroes in total. The moment you fight the 6th or beat the 6th hero, what happens is that you unlock the final dungeon and you'll then meet the 7th hero in that final dungeon. But that also means that we don't have to actually approach that 7th hero in his natural habitat. And there are some heroes that, I guess some of them take long depending on how you do it, but there's Wagnus specifically, a little bit like the leader of the 7 heroes. That one just takes an eternity to get to because you have to do a pretty lengthy quest that is also filled with some fairly difficult enemies along the way. While most of the other heroes are either instantly accessible or just don't really have much in terms of preceding quests or battles to go. For example, when we were in the Wandering Lake, picking up the Star of Valorant, you already saw the gray-haired dude who talked to you. That's one of the heroes, Noel. And we could have fought him right then and there. Now he's going to be like extremely difficult at this point in the game because his space stat's also pretty high. But as a whole, like it only takes as much as getting to the Wandering Lake to fight that hero. There's another hero where you just need to walk up to him and be like, yo, I want to fight you. And she's like, okay, well, let's fight then. And just generally, most of the heroes are fairly easy to unlock, except for Wagnus, who, thanks to this little gimmick of the final hero being tucked in the final dungeon, we're able to skip, basically.
So now, I think because he didn't get the mage right away to inherit to, and he already willfully abdicated once. You can only choose to abdicate once per or once at a time, and then you need to do something else. So if you need to inherit to another, then your only option is to die, and if you die, then you always get to inherit. And in this case, you really want to get the martial artist, and if you have to go through the route of dying, then it's completely it's random what you're going to get as options. Whereas if you choose to abdicate, then you always get your party members as options. So in that sense, it would have been a lot better if he didn't have to die there, but he got lucky and got the martial artist right away.
Specifically, the martial artist is a peculiar case because if you unlock him the way, I guess it works in this version. If you unlock him the way we did, you could have added him to the party, abdicated him, be done with it. There is a way to unlock him where you would then have to rely on RNG, but I guess this time didn't matter. The reason we want the martial arts specifically, though, the martial artist has pretty abysmal dexterity. He's not good with short swords at all. But every character class has a certain formation that their class can basically teach to the Empire. There's a dude, he's like, if you find battle formations, bring them to me. Which is a weird way of saying it, because you basically just have to be a different character to get those battle formations. You don't really find them throughout the game. But the martial artist specifically unlocks a formation called Dragon Stance. And Dragon Stance is absolutely insane and easily the best formation for speedruns. Because what it does is it speeds up the character in the front, who's also kind of like a tank, but he is only slightly most likely target. I think it's 30% for him, 25% in the back or something like that. The whole reason we want that formation is because your front character already gets a speed up. If you put a already fast character in the front, he will act first, and the moment your front character is able to act, everyone else in your party acts right after him. There's going to be no enemy in between, meaning that the moment you get to do something, your entire party gets to do something. So it's a very controlled formation. Usually you'd have to guess or gamble on who goes first, because there's a speed mechanic, there's some variance to it, every enemy has its speed, yada yada yada. Dragon Stance allows us to have absolute control over our turn order, and in most cases over the enemy turn order, whether we can act before them or not,
今回はどうでしょうか。
just because we can mostly ensure that we're gonna act first. And if we act, everyone gets to act
ダイ
immediately.
ブ倒して、
It's also really nice that it's a set order, which means that if we have some kind of buff routine going, for example, if we wanna have a certain arrangement of attackers, then we just set our formation in a certain way, and then we know exactly what's gonna happen that turn.
分ロイヤルナンバー1個分はあるので、別の場所で
On top of that, it also like strengthens the front guy a little bit, but that's not as big of a factor. It's really mostly about knowing what's gonna happen and being able to act
ルイの証券レベルが10を超えちゃう
before
の
the
で
enemy
サイドワイ
in
ンダーを
most
覚えておきます
scenarios
ね
as well.
さてまたこの狭い道を
Yeah, but basically, like it's so good that the only reason you would, like in some cases or like other categories, want to use another formation is just to have a formation that has higher,
あれ
like
間違えた俺
aggro rate on like a tank. Like there's a formation where there's like a tank that's
勝者です
that has like 80% chance of getting hit, like like base chance by the formation, and then you can like further boost that with some abilities, which like especially on hard mode it's a very big deal for end game. But even on hard mode we use Dragon's Dance a lot, just because it's like
リカバリーで後で拾って
whenever there's like fights where
いきます
we're not truly concerned of dying, it's just like so much better than anything else.
戦終わりましたら開発を依頼していた証券
Absolutely ridiculous how good that formation is compared to everything else. There are like
ここでメルを勢力化に加えております
technically 3 other formations that have the same effect.
この勢力化を加える字幕
There's one formation that has that thing in reverse, where you know that you're always gonna act after the
加
enemy,
えております
which for the most part is a detriment, because that means the enemy can beat you up or like set status conditions and all that. So we don't really want to bother with that. And the other 2 options that we have, Rapid Stream and Lightning Flash, they just take too long to get.
鍛冶屋でレイピアが出来上がっているので
Yeah.
While Dragon's Dance is readily available.
集めた金策アイテム
I know Rapid Stream was used a lot in either like speedruns of the original game or the like 2D remaster.
ここで受け継いで必要な防具を開発していき
Yeah, well, I guess Plat, but
さて
yeah, I mean, with Rapid Stream, there's the benefit that like you will always act first, while like with Dragon's Dance, you need to ensure that you have enough speed.
外す前は証券レベル12ほどだったのですがこの
Rapid Stream does have a downside. Like, even if we were have
メンバーはレベル
access
14 程
for
度で
through Rapid Stream,
凄さが
there is
というわけでティファールで
also a downside to a lot of formations, like either certain stats are lowered or something like that. But for Rapid Stream, it would be that the shield block rate is massively reduced, which we're talking like this is casual mode, it's relatively easy, or like it is really easy compared to like hard mode, for example. But then there's the final boss, the 7 heroes. That fight, it kind of doesn't matter what category you run this game on, it's always going to be difficult. The way I guess the routing has always worked in this game is we look at what setup can we allow ourselves to go into the final fight with, like how low can we go basically in terms of preparation, and once we know like a minimum bar that we can hit for the final fight, we can then go like, okay, this route could work, and then we can go start actually routing the process of like getting to that point. Even on casual mode, the fight is fairly tight to the point that if you, for example, get unfavorable targeting or your characters just never block, maybe a few specific moves happen, then the fight is just over. So we need to make sure that we kill it in time and that we can survive some things should things go wrong.
Yeah,
On hard mode, it's absolutely crazy.
like Rapid Stream would not be fine on casual mode. Like the reduction in shield block rate would actually be a problem. and also it lacks any other kind of defensive benefits that like Dragon Stance has at least a little bit.
True, because the front character in Dragon Stance, the moment he has acted, that character is immediately going to defensive stance, meaning that for one, the shield block rate increases, but he also just takes half damage from
Actually,
enemy
I think it was
attacks.
that the formation effect doesn't increase the shield block rate, unlike defending manually. So it's actually just an increase in defense.
Okay, well, either way, it's still like a defensive effect you can have, but that's good to know. Something that Shu also did, by the way, there's something that they added in the remake called the Memories of the Seven Heroes. Originally, like both the Super Famicom release and the remaster, they're pretty elusive on what the Seven Heroes actually are and like what happened and why are they mad at the world and all that. But the remake did a pretty good job of explaining all of that. And all the budget in terms of music also went into the scenes, I feel like, but that's another topic. They're entirely optional. They're a little bit like collectibles. They just explain the backstory and tell you what happened. There is, however, a warp bug that we quickly mentioned before the run started, which is also the reason why he runs in 1.10 and not the most recent version. And that warp bug is tied to those memories that you can find throughout the game, because they have like a certain property, or like they put the game in a certain state that we can use to then initiate that warping glitch. Now that I think about it though, why did he get that one? Why didn't he just go for the last one? Wait, where does this one put you?
Wait.
Let me look that up.
Does that one actually work? Yeah, because like that would be faster to grab than
Oh, well,
the last
100%.
one.
This one is the third memory. Is there something that shows me the scenes? Let me just look it up real quick. Because basically what happens is the memories play cutscenes in different scenes. Most of the scenes are sceneries that are usually not traversable, or like otherwise, like you can't really go to those. But a few of those can lead you to places that are actually accessible throughout the game in one way or another. And this one...
南の集落に行くと、タームが穴から出現したと騒ぎになります。ここで有名なあのセリフを聞くことができます。
This one's timestamp, very nice. Oh, no, it's not timestamp. It says memory number 1 for the entire video. Great.
それでは、シュウさんよろしくお願いいたします。
Oh, wait, no, he timestamped 1 through 9 and then 1 through 8 and 9 through 15. That's not helpful.
心の中でお願いいたしますよ。
せーの
Let me find a better video.
はいというわけで有名なミームアリダ
Okay, now we're kind of going back to a town where we were before. So he actually like hit some triggers before, and like now when coming back, it's needed to rest at the inn and trigger this event of like this termite invasion. It was like termites are kind of like the reason this like story exists or like it was like fighting against termites where like the seven heroes had to like use those powers that like ultimately like led them to like become the villains of this story. So we're gonna, well, I guess we're not gonna see termites that much like in the speedrun.
Yeah,
But in the game in general, there's like 3 different like bosses of like termites.
さあこの後、 アイテムの回収の後、2体タームが通路を塞いでいるのを無事避け
Yeah,
る
a
か
lot.
どうか。
One thing that we did throughout our World 2 earlier is,
無事回ですね。
alongside collecting a lot of equipment, we also made sure to just set a few certain story
この
flags
奥にある
so we
巡索用ア
can
イテムを拾い
progress
ましたら、モールの穴
whenever we're strong enough or stronger in general, which we are a decent bit stronger now. We grinded a decent bit,
はい、
got some skills, and now we can deal with enemies a decent bit easier. Oh, a decent bit better.
この敵前列に3
I actually looked it up. The memory he unlocked, I knew it was like,
ここ1列技をひらめいてくれるとここで大活
like
躍
I knew I remember it from somewhere. It's the one that gives you Subir's memory,
こちらは、もう1体ずつしか遊べない
which
ので
means he's probably gonna, like, he's gonna use the warp bug in the run, I assume. And on top of that, he probably wants to show the warp bug going into Dreadhome.
Okay, I see.
I think that's what he was gonna showcase then. I don't see another reason to get that because there's no other benefit to it.
Well, I guess let's see when we reach the end if he's gonna be able to showcase something like on top of the actual run.
Yeah. There's one mechanic we have not really explained yet. It is still relevant in casual mode. So,
このクイーンは物語の根幹に
as you might have gathered from either playing the game or watching or just from what we were talking about,
さあ
there are a lot of different character classes.
ターンの最後
Every character class excels in its own thing, which obviously means you're not going to be using the same character class
これによって
throughout the entire time. Like right now, we're using a martial artist, and then just a few other fairly high dexterity
ス
characters.
タン耐性がないので監視して何もできなくなってしまいます
To make sure that
クイーン自身
you're
の
not,
阻害できるのも
I guess, like, for example, let's say a
付加するのも
Pokemon game, you have your party of 6 Pokemon. Those 6 Pokemon are gonna get super strong, but everyone else is gonna be left behind. This game tries to mitigate that by having every enemy in the tavern still level alongside with you. It's at a reduced rate, so they're gonna only be getting 80% of the experience you get throughout the fights yourself. But I guess they implemented it with... I doubt it's intentional, but the way they implemented it is that, for example, you get 1000 experience for short sword in one battle, because one character wields a short sword. That means everyone in the tavern gets 800 XP. But if we give everyone a short sword like we have right now, you basically get 5000 EXP, 1000 times 5 for this one battle. And that means that your characters in the tavern don't get 800 EXP like you would assume because the enemy gave 1000, but 4200. Basically 80% of the entire EXP that was distributed throughout the fight. Which also leads to a little exploit we call tavern leveling, where the characters we want to have for the finale, we usually leave them stashed away in the tavern. We go about our world tour, we grind on frogs and all that, which would net us a decent amount of TP by itself, or experience. But then we go grab the characters from the tavern, who are gonna have that experience they got amplified times 4. So they're gonna be much, much stronger than what you would usually have by this point, just because they get way more EXP than we're intended to. So that's something we usually pay attention to. We get a time skip, we get a new set of characters, we set up this tavern leveling, and then while we prepare this generation, we grind our characters who are still stuck in a tavern, and the moment we then want to go fight bosses and progress story, we take those out to cash in their levels, as we call it, and then reap the benefits of it. Usually, with the amount of grinding we do, you wouldn't be expected to go beyond like level 20 or 25 or something like that. But we're going to be hitting level 40 with our proficiency levels just because of this exploit. It's pretty strong.
So now, he is going to do some grinding, and there's actually like a little trick that was set up there, but by climbing up the tree, and then teleporting back. Well, basically, it's like as soon as you've like gone up there, you can just like fast travel directly here without having to go anywhere else in between, and it'll respawn all the enemies. Normally, you wouldn't do that. Normally, you would have to change areas entirely. It's kind of weird why it works that way, but it does. So, if you're gonna stay and like grind for like some amount of time, then it might be a good idea to like set that up to make it faster.
What it basically cuts out is instead of having to choose a new area or city on the world map, we can just constantly or immediately
Like that.
travel back to this place like here, yeah.
Like you can see the enemies actually just kind of like pop in after you can already like see the area.
They would usually not be here, as Dana mentioned, with this, but it's a nice little trick, which I guess mostly saves time RTA. In an RTA setting, you definitely save time of it. Load removed, it's debatable. I guess it depends on how quick you can move on the world map, because it still takes a little bit of time to get up that tree trunk.
Yeah, and depends how long you're going to grind.
Yeah. Like
if you're
in
only
casual
gonna do a
mode-
few sets of enemies, then it's not worth it.
Yeah, like in casual mode, where we mostly just go for a few levels. We usually go for like 8 to 10 battles, because that also progresses the blacksmith, which needs 10 battles to forge its items. Or 10 victories specifically. While on higher difficulties, you also go for abilities. And those abilities usually take a lot longer to get. 30 battles to learn them, 60 battles to be able to put them on other characters. And if you do 60 battles as opposed to 10, having this kind of quick warp setup is just generally beneficial. Oh, you got Snake Shot, very nice. Snake Shot is kind of an upgrade to Sidewinder. It still has the frog killing property, but while Sidewinder is a single target attack, Snake Shot attacks everything in a horizontal line. And interestingly enough, those frogs are often aligned very conveniently for us in a horizontal line, meaning that Snake Shot, as you saw there, can often just instantly finish the fight. You would want to get it early on, but getting it now is also not too bad.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised that like, he's not fighting those snakes on the way, like especially with Snake Shot. You would imagine that it's like fast enough to fight those that it'd be worth it.
Yeah, it's a little strange. It's always a little bit of a debate on whether you want to only fight the snakes or fight the snakes and the frogs. It's hard to gauge because it takes a little while, as you can see, to get to the frogs. Maybe he just goes for the frogs because he knows he's gonna get a certain amount of EXP and he doesn't necessarily want to get on it.
It's a more consistent method. Like the fights are very consistent, and you always get a good amount of TP. With the snakes, it's like sometimes you just get like the 2 snakes and like nothing else, and it's like not that good.
フルーレの約5倍の攻撃力29を誇っております。
And a lot of times in that fight, they're also not aligned horizontally, so you would need at least 2 attacks regardless of formation.
Yeah, like if the snakes are not aligned, then like it makes the fight quite a bit slower.
Right, he is now... So he finished creating the first short sword. He's now started the second short sword. With, I assume he's probably gonna cash on levels now and then continue with the story, because a time skip, on top of winning 10 battles, another way to finish forging items is through time skip. As denho mentioned, after time skip, whatever you forged in that generation is going to be available for purchase immediately, which is very useful. That also goes for if a time skip triggered the what's it called? If a time skip triggered finishing the creation of that item. Oh, and now we see our first skill grind in Lake Waringa. Gonna set up the party real quick to have a specific order. We're also gonna... So there's abilities you can use in this game, and there's only one ability we really use in casual mode called All Attributes +1, just because we can get it for free, and as the name suggests, it just increases all attributes +1. Among that is speed, meaning that we're gonna be able to go earlier. We got Plasma Thrust, which is useful, but we want Glamour Blade.
Yeah, I think he actually had Plasma Thrust already.
Oh, I didn't even notice. So,
Yeah, I think that was during the Queen.
Oh, there we go. That was pretty good. Yeah, he only wanted Glamour Blade, because with Glimmering, as you mentioned before, it's first of all, luck-based. Depending on what you're fighting, what level you are, you have... Or not, but yeah, depending on what you're fighting, you have different rates of getting certain skills. And you also can't just get like any skill from any other skill. You can get pretty much anything from the base attack, but you can't get everything from, let's say, Glamour Blade, which we just unlocked. However, different skills have different rates at which they can then evolve into other skills. We want to go for something called Mega Thrust, which, if we use Glamour Blade to obtain it, gives us the best chances at actually getting Mega Thrust later on. Which is the one thing. And the other thing is that every character, not every character type, but like every iteration of a character has its own so-called glimmer type. Meaning that not every character is able to get everything in the first place. You saw that he used the attack with one character, with Mary, the one that just got knocked out by the ogre. She's the only one who was able to Glamour Blade. Everyone else was not able to throughout that fight, either because they didn't meet the level requirement, or because they don't have the correct Glimmer type. So, on top of being met with relatively unlikely odds a lot of times, we also only have a certain selection of characters which can get certain skills in the first place. The glimmering is a very major part of whether you can like even finish a run or not. Because if you don't get the skills, usually it just means you can't progress. Because if you don't get the skills, you can't inherit them to the next generation. It's just a huge snowball effect that happens.
Yeah, luckily on the casual mode, like what you need is not like that difficult to get. It's like for hard mode runs, it's been a huge pain. That it's like you need to have something good, and it's like low chance if your enemy level is not that high. So
yeah, and obviously your enemy level is going to be low if you want to be fast, because you're not going to be that many.
Yeah,
going to be doing that many fights and story elements. Meaning that on hard mode or higher difficulties, you're generally met with like less than 1% odds, depending on how risky you want to be. While on casual mode, this Glamour Blade just now has a 20% chance with our setup. And the last skill, Mega Thrust, that we will need later, I think that one is at, I think 5 or 6% or something like that. It's pretty good odds compared to other difficulties, which also makes casual mode a much more endearing category in many ways.
yeah, it's like on a hard mode we would have like you know, sometimes someone would get the glimmer.
Oh, Laura.
Oh, well, I guess that's a little bonus. That's the weapon ability.
Oh, I guess it doesn't matter as much on this 1.10.
But yeah, so on hard mode, like sometimes you would have a runner get what they need within like 10 attempts, and it's like crazy good. But sometimes you're just like grinding there for like half an hour. And it's like,
that's generous.
Get like did they like patch it out of the game? Like, why can't I get it?
It can be miserable. So he glimmered another skill called Floral Extravaganza. There are a few certain weapons that have a potential weapon glimmer that
Oh, that didn't kill?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it doesn't matter because it was like... Well, okay, that was a little bit inconvenient. Like, you want to kill the boss before the barrier. That's like the big thing, and also why like Dragon's Dance is a big deal here as well. You can like plan the turn order in a way where you definitely killed before the barrier, but it's just like cut it really close, and but no big deal.
Yeah, it's another boss fight where HP thresholds are a very important thing. Every third of his HP bar introduces a new phase. The first phase is just him alone. The second phase has him pull up a barrier and some wooden dolls. And the third phase is where things go crazy. Oh, he didn't get the hunter. He's not been lucky with emperors. Except for martial arts. So now we want to get the hunter as an emperor, because the hunter is one of the characters of the absolutely highest dexterity stat. However, every character has usually some kind of affinity to certain weapons. Hunters are more related to bows than anything else, which still use dexterity, so the dexterity stat is not going to waste like on other characters potentially. But he is absolutely improficient in short swords and will never get those levels. Like, the only way you can get short sword levels for him is by meticulously grinding those. Which is why we want him as an emperor, to make sure that we can actually utilize that high dexterity stat in an efficient way. Now he's just gonna set up his little tavern leveling again. He just put in everyone that he wants to have. Then he also added the mole, which we just got. Another high dexterity character. It's actually good with short swords though. He teaches Glamour Blade and Snake Shot to everyone. And I guess given that he still has the main party out right now, he's probably going to be doing some story first. Oh, and the university. University is an interesting gimmick. You have an assortment of like 36 exams or something like that. You only have to do the entrance exam to reap most of the benefits of the university. But yeah, you can spend a lot of time in here. It's just a lot of trivia questions. The entrance exam is consistent in terms of its questions. The answers are always going to be in a random order. And you only have to get like 6 out of 10 correctly. I think he's just going for the full clear.
He's just flexing with his game knowledge.
University 100%. Get his master's degree in romancing SaGa too. A lot of the questions have like very silly answers anyway, and then there's something like, what's your current empire's revenue? And you get 3 very similar numbers, and you're like, huh? What are you talking about? Oh, I guess he's showing off the warp bug now. So, the way this works is that if you watch a scene, you kind of get placed into the scene, more or less, because the scene has to play out somehow. And then during this like ominous fade out, you can quit out of the menu early, which, as you see now, he's now falling through the void. Because if you quit out of the menu early, you're kind of already gone, but not really, and it's a little bit of a like in-between limbo state. And what he can do is he can just warp back into this scene, which now the game is confused as to like what state you're in, and just puts you into that scene without the cutscene actually triggering. And that scene specifically is meant as a... Oh, okay, that's how you reset it. That also works, I guess. That scene specifically is one of the scenes that is used for one of the super bosses. It's the same scene, but you can then use the warp out option that the game gives you for the super boss to basically get right into the post-game dungeon. This entire area is not supposed to be available until you actually beat the game.
Yeah, I mean, you still can't do the bosses before you beat the game, right?
Yeah. No. So this game is also very meticulous with its story flags. Unlike like Zelda or something like that, where you can just go somewhere and it's like, oh, have fun with the final boss because you made it here. This game has very specific story flags, and you need to make sure that you hit them all along the way. Even missing a single flag just breaks it all. And in this case, you need to beat the final boss to trigger a story flag or another area, which then cascades into unlocking this area.
So
As well as
picked up an accessory that was like the
Intaglio ring.
yeah.
So the thing that you got there is a really powerful accessory. There are only 2 copies of it per playthrough, one of which you get through a side quest, the other one you get here. And that thing has really good defensive stats, but it also has immunity to every single status ailment, which is very useful. Well, outside of instant death, but I don't think you can protect against that with accessories. And then he also just gets some stuff along the way. I guess he wants to like showcase this glitch, so he also made sure to get
that's
some use out of it.
Avalonia, right?
Yeah, which Avalonia can sell for 2.5 million, which
Yeah, I guess
pretty
it's
much
for
funds
money.
his entire run. Yeah, his
Yeah.
entire run has money now. Oh, he's gonna do
Interesting.
more quizzes?
この南バレンヌ小論をクリアすることで防具に必要な素材麻の布と
I wonder
石鉄の鉱石それぞれ15
I wonder how like worth it that like endeavor is. Like you do get some pretty good stuff, but it does take some
I
time.
don't think it's worth it at all.
必要があります
There are easier ways to get by money, and he doesn't need 2.5
量ではあ
million.
るんですが出てきた問題に対応してしっかりと問題を
Yeah,
It takes a while.
I mean, it might be the kind of thing that like that's going to make a marathon run more consistent. Because like even when it's in casual mode, it's like, you know, if the final boss is in a bad mood, it's like you might spend a while there. So
I remember my marathon run last time. That guy was in a bad mood.
この世代ではロックブー
so yeah, it might be the kind of thing like, you know, it's cool to show off the bug, but also like you get some good stuff that will make the end game more consistent.
Yeah. Something that's very important for this upcoming boss, for example, it seems like he's going to be doing. Yeah, I guess it makes sense that he's doing it now, given the party setup he has. It's going to be Rock Bouquet, and another one of the 7 heroes. And Rock Bouquet's whole gimmick is that she charms characters, and she can charm every male character and a certain selection of female characters. But then there are also gender-neutral characters who just like don't care about it at all. Which also means so that every character that is susceptible to charm needs to, well, either you gamble in, which you can do, but you're already gambling enough throughout the run, might as well protect against like more common things. Or you like protect yourself against it, which the Intaglio ring protects against every status ailment, charm being one of them. He picked up the Mole, who actually, conveniently enough, comes with Iron Will as a helmet, and that thing has charm protection, among other things. Plus, it's just a good helmet. And then he also picked up a Summon Ring very early on in the run, around like the 8-minute mark or something. Oh, you can jump like that! That's so much less scary. Anyway, he also picked up the Summon Ring very early on, even before fighting the first Kazinsi fight, just because that Summon Ring also has charm protection. And now he's gonna fight this Mimic, because Mimics usually guard pretty good equipment. The first one we fought in the beginning of the run, for example, had the Law Bowman, and this one has Thief Ring, which he instantly disposed of that Mimic.
I guess the Floral Extravaganza was put to good
Actually
use.
saves time, let's go. The Floral Extravaganza has instant death as a potential effect, but it's not likely. I think it's like 25%. And he got it. Very nice. And he also got the Thief Ring now, which he's gonna put in one of the female characters, so don't need to worry about charm. You can jump like that too?
Yeah, I think he posted about it some time ago that there's like a little ledge where you can land.
I didn't
makes
notice
the
that.
jump more consistent.
That is so much easier than like ringing yourself around the corner in a peculiar manner. Well, I don't know
Yeah.
how easy it is. I just saw it for this. Maybe it's also not easy.
But that's one of the parts, like, you know, in any category, there's at least going to be that bit of like platforming, like that's like really like you just gotta make like a tight jump to like save some time.
It's not that much platforming, but when there's platforming, it's like something very tight. There's like another area that they actually made easy, or like two areas that they made easier with this patch actually to traverse, but that one in categories where you would go through those areas, it would actually be pretty difficult to go through all that. He's using map fire?
Maybe that was just an accident.
Accident? I mean, he was looking at the guilds for quite a while, mate. Did he forget to? No, he did teach it to him. Pretty sure. I don't know why you would go for them. Oh yeah, it was a mistake, I guess. Okay. So yeah, now we're putting the glamour blade we got earlier to use. We're now going to be fighting Rock Bouquet. This fight is... Oh, this is actually pretty interesting because depending on what option... Like, this fight has a lot of things going for it. For starters, if you go in with a female character, this fight is inaccessible. You will always be led onto like a little bit of a... How do you go? You always
what
be
kind of like a quest where like first you need to like kind of help her with something, and then you kind of like need to chase her as she's going somewhere else. But if you're a male emperor, you can just say like no, I'm not gonna help you, and then she's gonna be upset.
Yep. Which you can also tell her to help her, and if you do that, you would have to do that quest again, or as well. And I think if you lose, you also have to help her if you don't reload your save.
Yeah, and also like if your emperor gets charmed, and I think there was like some other condition on top of that, then the fight can also just immediately end, and then you have to help her.
Yeah. So there's actually a lot of things happening around this fight, which is pretty cool. And you would usually not notice that in a casual playthrough, because either you're like immediately suspicious of her, or you just like don't have a certain gender of a character, which you wouldn't necessarily attribute to progress here. Either way, that fight is also based around HP gates, and you basically just want to make sure that you don't surpass her first HP threshold early on, which is why he went all out with 4 characters, and then the 5th character he just did a regular attack just to make sure to not go over the HP threshold. And after that he went all out to make sure to defeat her before the phase transition. Because the moment that HP threshold is hit, the following turn she will do her temptation attack, which charms, and then she does another one of those with a lengthy cutscene and all that. And right after we're gonna fight Noel, who usually what we did here is he like goes to the city, he sends out his fiends just to like gather intel, and then you go to him like, hey, can you like retract those guys? And he's like, oh, sure, okay. And then he leaves, which usually means you can't really encounter him again unless you defeat Rock Bouquet. Because like within the story, those are siblings. Noel is like the older brother of Rock Bouquet. And if you beat Rock Bouquet, Noel gets mad, so you now are able to encounter him again, and he seeks for vengeance for his sister. Which I think this is gonna be the... Yeah, this is gonna be the 4th hero, as with most categories.
So now he's in a counter stance, and in that case, if you use overdrive, then you're not gonna get countered. But otherwise, you want to use ranged attacks, like he's using Snake Shot here to avoid getting countered.
This guy also has an HP gate, meaning that for next turn... Oh, I don't know if... Oh, well, he's not in a counter stance, so...
But he broke the formation.
Well, it's still casual mode, so he's not going to die to this. But he's going to take some damage.
なので、戦闘には素早さのボーナスがあるんですが、それも発生せず
Oh
に
wait, but the Phantom
この
also
ように
goes.
先手を取られてしまったんですね。
これは
Oh, that could have gone pretty bad
次
with
先手
the
を取られ
attacks
て
he
いる
got,
と
but
こ
it's
で
fine.
倒してしまいたいところ。
届く
It'll be
か
fine.
Is this enough?
This will not kill.
とギリ足りない。
耐えて
とりあえず攻撃を耐えて
Um,
で、
Okay.
というわけで、
Okay,
残り
nah,
少
he's
ないです
fine,
が
he's fine.
チャンスを持っているので
He's fine, don't worry about it.
なんとか
So yeah, even on casual mode, things can
か
go
なり危ないパターンを
astray pretty
そう
easily
ですね。
if
無事
one
突破
thing goes
しました
wrong.
ありがとうございますというわけで
This entire run is one
ちなみ
big
にですか
gambling simulator.
今回
It's,
無事にノエル
you have so many odds that you have to roll against.
ノエルを
It's
倒しても
almost
エレンタルが
impossible to
解放
not
済みなので
eventually
疑惑
fail
イベ
them
ン
at
ト
some
は
point.
発生いたしませんノエルが
and it's like, even though casual mode is like a lot easier than hard mode, like that just means in a speedrun that you're going to go in less prepared and like it's still very easy for you to die because of that.
Thrown some quick numbers. Right there, he took about 50% of health from that like AoE move. Hard mode has me take like 3.3 times the amount of damage. Like, that would have killed him twofold on every single character if he would have encountered that move unprepared. So,
Yeah.
yeah, hard mode is hard.
I mean, he did actually already pick up a spell called Firewall. Or was it Wall of Fire in this game?
No, it's still Firewall.
No, it's Firewall in this. Okay, well, anyway, that will be necessary for final boss, but on hard mode, you would start using that earlier already, which, like, that will protect your party for that turn from any attacks that contain fire or water element. So, you know, that covers a lot of attacks. So it's like, on hard mode, it's a very important spell, but also for any category, you basically need that for final boss, because there's even some attacks that you like know exactly what turn they're going to happen, so then you can protect yourself against some strong attacks.
And you also know exactly that if you don't have Firewall up, you're dead. Just because those attacks, like, you know that they're gonna happen, but those are also like really strong attacks. It's not just like some like willy-nilly thing. So the path, this is once again the secondary path we could have taken at the very beginning of the game after the tutorial, which will meet us with Dantark, another one of the
Who's still in his first form.
Yeah, usually the way it works is that you have 7 heroes. The 5th hero you fight, from that hero onward, every hero will be in his at least 2nd form, depending on like the guy. Dantar can actually have 4 different forms, technically 5. But whoever is going to be the 5th hero, from that one onward, everyone's going to be 2nd form. The only exception is Dantark in this specific location, because the game usually expects you to have done some more stuff, have gotten some more time skips. I think Shu is still in the year 1118 or something like that, which is way too early for Dantark to move out of this dungeon, because his gimmick is that he roams about this region, and the later it gets into the game, the further he travels. He just goes through the different dungeons. Which, because we barely have had any time skips at all, he is still in this dungeon, and this dungeon just forces him into the first form. You can lose to this fight if you go here very early, and it'll still progress the story, but we can also just leave him for later to kind of avoid having to fight an extra 2nd form of the 7 hero, because the first form is just much more easier in most scenarios. I don't think if there's like anyone who's harder in phase 1.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
なるのですが、その前に最後の技術点稼ぎをしていきます。 このタイミングでやるのは、適正力レベルが
And now we just need to get the next, I guess, major event to happen, whether it be like defeating a boss or something like that, or
になっています。
uh,
さて村長にダンターグを退治したことを
annexing or like capturing a region
主要メンバーを外して
to trigger the next time skip. Because from this point onward, we've defeated 5 heroes.
高いため
Every scene that can trigger a time skip will trigger a time skip now and initiate the final generation.
極意化するためです。
Which means that in terms of routing, we're now doing our last preparations in terms of grinding and preparing equipment and all that, getting skills like Mega Thrust.
アビリティを
And after that,
発動させるためには
we're pretty
キャ
much,
ラを先頭に
we're not stuck with what we have.
30回勝利する必要
Like,
があります。
especially casually, you'd be able to just go and
からさらに
do
30回
more.
勝利する
But in the speedrun, because it takes a little while to
キャラをパーティー
set
から
up
外した時に
the final
キャラが
generation,
そのアビリティを使える
we'd
ように
want
な
to
りま
do
す。
everything in advance,
帝国
just so that the final generation is a little bit like a boss rush.
剣を装備しておくだけで
He's not going to be getting
Yeah.
a few more levels,
物理技をパリ
which, like, he got his B team basically on his grind team.
フリーファイター男のアビリティは
Gonna get some more levels, and then he's gonna cash in those levels, get Mega Thrust, and move on.
HP が増加します。
I think now that he has multiple snake shot users, he's just gonna grind these snakes.
が 10% 上昇する。
Yeah, I actually wonder if he's gonna move on to the other
これらを
ones.
しようという意図があるわけですね。
I mean, maybe he will still do the frogs, but at this point, he has determined that he's gonna be strong enough to
シンボルの板奥にある
fight these guys quickly enough.
回復アイテムを拾っていき
Gonna get some Gaia essence here to refill his battle points.
エリアを切り替えていきます。これは
I guess we never mentioned that, but every skill costs a certain amount of resource. Of course, you can kind of imagine it like mana, MP, or whatever. Technique points.
先ほどのようにエリアの切り替え
And especially during grinding segments, those can run low pretty easily. So you want to make sure to manage those in a certain way. Usually just by having some healing items at hand. He just now got an item that
今戦っている
refills the
時間がかかってしまいます。
battle points of the entire party by a certain extent. Or by a certain amount, rather.
狭い道を通って時間をかけても、こちらの方が早く
Yeah, it used to actually be like split between like skills and spells using a different resource. There'd be like Waza and Jutsu points, so like
この狩りですが
skill and like spell
攻撃技の
points,
ところが極意化するので
basically.
約40分戦っていきます。
With that system, it's like if you haven't trained someone in Magic,
戦闘に入って
then you would like not really have the points to like
ダメージで
to
の
cast like pretty much anything, even if they were like supporting spells where you don't really care about the damage.
先制攻撃をすることに
So it's like in this, like since you have just like that one BP,
ゲージが
anyone can like you can give firewall to anyone, and they'll be able to use it like to the same effect.
倒せるという意味もありますが、一番重要なの
Well,
は
aside from if you got firewall too, which can actually deal damage. But
ここまで説明がなかったのですが、連携は BP を消費することはありません。BP の回復薬は、皆さん覚えてますでしょうか。最初の方、封印の地で拾った。
but yeah, we're just gonna be grinding here since it's casual mode. It's not. We're not gonna be here for too long, but I guess for like a few minutes.
Yeah, usually casual mode gets like 8 to 10 battles in.
40回戦うことを考えるとあまり余裕はありません。なので、
I'm actually trying to think what he... Oh, he's probably going for the smithy upgrade right now as well. And once the smithy is upgraded, he then
このように連携を
starts the final short sword level up, and then he's probably gonna
最後はゲージを
progress.
残しておく必要があります。なので、終わり際になったら連携を使わずにゲージを取っておくという動きをします。
Yeah, the abilities that you see like
なので、追加するまであと約
well,
30回ほど
we saw a couple abilities being learned there. So those are just based on the amount of victories. So you need to win 30 times to learn an ability, and then a total of 60 times to master it, which would allow giving it to someone else. For casual mode, it's just kind of like too much to like go for those. like there are some really good ones. Like for example, like the martial artist just has one that increases like technique damage by 10%, which like straight up damage increase for short sword, which like we're using here. He just learned it actually. So now the martial artist is going to deal more damage. Woohoo! But we're not going to have him in the final party because his dexterity is bad, and he hasn't mastered it yet. So it's like it's not truly going to come to use.
Mastering would take another full 30 battles, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Which just takes too long.
そして今、クワワのシーフリングをチャールズに渡していますよね。レベルが上がったことでクワワの火力が上がってきて、火力が過剰になってくるので、火力の低いチャールズに、シーフリングを渡して狩りの効率は。
Kind of funny actually. Barbosa and Shu did start within 10 seconds of one another.
Yeah, I actually checked that and I was like, wait, that timer it like looks about the same.
Yeah, so we technically have a race going between short sword and bow.
Oh yeah, it's even like the same category usually.
Yeah.
2対1対で出てくる編成。
Same category but different route.
Right, yeah, he's doing the bow route.
Yep. The one that we theorized like a year ago. And eventually turned like, probably not worth it.
Yeah, it's really interesting, especially because like it turns out that the patch didn't actually change the like HP of enemies. Unless there's like some particular enemies that were actually changed, then but anyway, like the thing is that like this game makes it like kind of easy to like see what kind of damage you can expect, because like in the menu it shows you the attack rating for the weapon you have equipped, which will take into account the weapon power, your skill level for that weapon, and your stats. And then on top of that, you can also see the potency value for each tech that you can use. So based on those, you can kind of like see what kind of damage you can expect very, very accurately. And just by looking at this, like something that I noticed is that two-handed weapons simply have higher attack rating than one-handed weapons. Like when all the like values are the same, two-handed weapons are stronger. Which is like, the bow is one of those two-handed weapons. So that's kind of like a way to balance the fact that you can't use a shield with two-handed weapons. And then with a bow, there's an attack called Shadow Shot, which is like it's a little bit lower potency than Mega Thrust, which is what you can get on short sword, but it's dark. It has the dark element, which like the final boss is going to have the dark environment, which will boost the damage of the attack. So
30%.
Yeah. So then like in total, I was thinking like, okay, I think like you would deal more damage with bows. Like they both also use dexterity, so that would be the same. But like I kind of didn't get anywhere with that because it seemed like early game was really hard with bows, because like with short sword you have the big advantage of like Sidewinder, being able to kill those frogs, so you can grind really easily. Like just give everyone short swords and like you're set. So if you want to use another weapon, either you need to grind in some other way, which is probably not going to be as efficient. Though on casual mode it's more feasible because enemies don't have as much HP. Or you're going to have like one person with a short sword using Sidewinder or Snake Shot, while like everyone else is actually leveling the weapon you want. But, then you're getting less for the weapon you want.
Another
the whole farming aspect is kind of the main reason why like short swords have being like in like pretty much every category, like the main thing that's been used.
Which bows do have rapid volley, which are really good for one certain area, because there's one area, the savannah, where we just quickly threaded through, that has a lot of enemies that are weak to bows, which is really, really useful. Or either that, or they're just like low in HP. But another problem with the bow route was just that outside of early game being rough, short swords you can forge the moment you kind of get out of early game. Like you beat Vicar and you have access to creating short swords. While with bows, to be able to even get stronger bows, there's gonna be one semi-strong bow hidden behind a dungeon that is hidden behind 2 other dungeons. Like basically, you have to do a lot of extra stuff. Yeah. While getting access to forging bows means you have to defeat the termite queen that we did like about 45 minutes ago, which is not an inherently difficult battle, but it takes a little bit of effort nonetheless to beat it. I actually don't know if the current bow route maybe uses short swords to beat that fight and then just migrates over. I'm not sure if that's how it works.
はい、21ですね。いや、操作が少なくて助かります。私も
That would probably save a decent amount of time because then you also don't need to get the Gloom Reaper.
あるので、ここの大変さは、よく身に染みております。というわけで、次。はい、21ですね。
Now, in a perfect world, bows do have the best grinding method just because the rapid volley that we saw early on in the run just hits everything and the entire field, and you would instantly finish the fight. It's also a fast animation, something that gets really important for especially grinding if you use a lot of skills, is how long does the animation take. And rapid volley is very fast. Snake shot is also pretty fast, but if you were to, for example, constantly grind with something like Eulogy or something, I don't know, that animation takes really, really long.
Yeah, the like kind of highest level tags tend to have really long animations. I mean, that's actually like a gauntlet, and then that comes with a special attack that you can get from post game. That's like it's basically the only like AoE attack that you can do with martial arts that you can just like use right away. So it's like if you want to grind martial arts, you'd probably use like that would be really nice to use. But the animation is pretty long, so it's like yeah, grinding with martial arts not great. I mean, endgame it's not that bad because like in endgame you kind of need to like use strong attacks to like even kill the enemies efficiently in the first place.
I was wondering why he... Oh, sorry.
Like if you're on like romancing difficulty, like New Game Plus stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, New Game Plus gives you 2 extra difficulties, and some of like one of them is really, really difficult. Like you need to be prepared a lot, which at that point you don't care about animation time as much. I was wondering why Shu has a 2-hour 40 estimate. That's probably because he just grinds a decent bit. He seems to May actually... It seems like he goes for ability mastery, just to A, get more skill levels to make the final boss more consistent, and B, have abilities to, well, for the most part increases damage output, but probably also just increases survivability, because you also got max HP up, for example. But he seems to be done with grinding now, so he's probably going to be going for Mega Thrust.
Yeah, since you know they got the max HP ability, the patch actually comes to play, where you know that ability got buffed quite a bit. It used to be 10% increase, which is pretty small. In 1.1 forward, it's 30%.
Wasn't it 20 earlier?
Oh, was it 20?
think it was 20.
そのひらめき確率は 5% です。
No, it was 10.
なので、
Oh, wow.
運が悪いと
Yeah,
止まって
that's
しまう場面なの
a
で、
big
なるべ
buff.
く早くひらめ
like
き
I remember it being buff, but I
この
thought it was a little
3
less.
技なので、ご覧の通り、
Alright, so Mega Frost, as of right now, has a
邪魔されることはありますが
5-ish% chance to be obtained
倒してしまいました。
against these enemies
これ
specifically.
そういったですね
Yeah, like on every attack.
Yeah, on every attack. So every time you see him use it is a 5% roll that he misses. Which I guess it's expected that he would get it within like 20, maybe 30 tries. But if we get into the 50s or 60s, it starts being pretty unlucky.
Yeah, now he equipped some weaker weapons so that he can keep going for a longer time without killing the enemy. Because like the objective isn't really to kill the enemy. Like you just want to use the attacks as many times as possible, as quickly as possible.
Though it is pretty useful that with the skill that we grind, we also stun the enemy.
Yeah, stun is like I think you can like stun and put this enemy to sleep, which are like
Yeah.
ways to make this grind more comfortable depending on what you're trying to do.
なくなってしまうので一旦、BP 回復に戻らなければ
It's a pretty big thing in SaGa games in general that like status ailments are something that you want to use commonly. In many cases, you can even use them against bosses. Like in this game, they're a little more resistant to status ailments in general than in the original version of the game. But even in this version, like Dantark, who we fought earlier, can be put to sleep actually in the earlier forms. And quite a few of the heroes can be poisoned. The poison is a bit difficult to access.
Yeah, there are like a few spells of a type that you can... Like there are 6 spell types, 5 of which are always available, 1 of which you can actually lock yourself out of completely depending on how you proceed a quest. And then there's like 1 or 2 skills that could maybe cause poison, I think, outside of that.
数が散りましたね。
で世界記録を狙う場合
Right?
今まで
Trying to think.
技のひらめきや
No, I think poison is actually
It might
exclusively
be purely Umbrology. Oh, there it is.
なんとかひらめいてくれました
Finally got Mega Frost. That actually took a little while. He burned through all of his healing items, so he would have probably reloaded the area. This game autosaves, luckily. So even if the grind doesn't work and he uses up all of his resources, you can just load an autosave and try again. Which,
now he started developing Firewall, which, like I mentioned earlier, is going to be vital for the final generation.
and the stock as well. This one for Van Braces. I guess he wants to go for Mastery Gloves. Wait, no, Mastery Gloves are... No, Van Braces... No, he doesn't get Mastery Gloves in time. I think that one is.
I guess just for defense.
そうですね
Yeah, probably.
皇帝対応を使っているので
And now he is gonna change his Emperor one more time.
もう一回
Actually, maybe he's gonna change it twice. Maybe he's gonna go for the Inheritance
この時に
glitch.
ルドン高原に行ってた皇帝も多かったという話でございますね。最近
Yeah,
は
like
ゴブリノスがトレンド
we discussed before, like you can't actually like
ないですね
even though the Emperor inherits like all the stats, like just keeps like accumulating everything from like every class basically. Like the classes that are emperors, like they don't actually like keep all of those things that you had on the emperor. So it's like even if you use a lot of short sword and you had a good short sword level as the emperor, as the hunter, like after that, like when the hunter is not the emperor, you will only like effectively keep the amount of TP you gained like while you were doing that. but you don't actually like inherit anything.
I think he forgot to cash in on light infantry.
Oh.
That guy is level 31. Yeah, so it seems like he may have done a mistake. He doesn't sound like he's aware of it either. So when you do the tavern leveling, something you need to do is you of course like level the characters in the tavern, but before you do anything else, like whether it's a time skip or even appointing those characters to be emperor, you need to make sure to cash in your levels, because otherwise the game like it technically knows that you leveled through this tavern leveling method, but it doesn't actually override the skill level of the character yet. It just has it ready to go to transfer, basically. But if I saw correctly, like, it seemed a little low, but his Empress now only level 31 with short sword, while everyone else is in the high 40s.
いや大丈夫
セーフですね。はい、というわけ
I
で
doubt he did that on
使わ
purpose.
ずにこのまま
There's no
ハイ
reason
ド
to
を駆
not
け抜けていき
do
ます
that.
この後もですね、一見避けられないような配置で敵が、通路を防いでいるんですが、それもしっかりと引きつけて回避していく。
In the end, it shouldn't matter that much anyway, because the majority of damage is gonna come from
というわけでハリア半島無事突破です。
the female ranger and the mole,
ありがとうございます。
ありがとうございま
and
す
they are really, really strong. They're like over 10 levels higher than what you have in a 1.01 run. I don't know what level thresholds they usually go for
こ
current patch.
の後、ション戦団の
Yeah, generally, like,
選ぶようにするように気をつけましょう。
you put like all the dexterity equipment that you have on like whoever is the strongest in the party, and yeah, you know, like you get the most out of it by like making your strongest character even stronger. Like that will have the biggest
Let's see his level.
impact.
Do you not need to cash in?
するとですね、
I swear I lost a run because of that in the
人
past.
士が復活したとの報告が入りま
I mean, it wasn't a time skip, so maybe somehow because of that, it's fine.
復活してしまうことも知らされるのでした。
No, but I feel like I lost runs specifically because I forgot to cash in the loads at this
復
specific.
活のが難しいため、まずは準備を整えます。
Let me double check that I didn't just misread
最高傷薬と自然銀を買い揃えます。
I'm
最
confused.
高傷薬は HP を500回復するアイテム。
Regardless, we now have the final age, the final emperor. Story-wise, we've now defeated enough heroes, and what happens is that we are now the final person in the lineage of the inheritance magic. Like, the inheritance magic, I guess, within the story, is supposed to have been used up so much that it ran out now. Realistically, we used it like 3 times because we have like a very specific route of how we want to go for things. But the
Yeah, I mean, you could have used it like 100 times, but
could have used it 100 times, but you used it like 3 times. Well, 5 times because we killed our emperor twice. But regardless, the inheritance magic has now been used up, kinda, and we're now the final emperor or empress, and that means we kinda need to make sure to... The duty of the final emperor is now to conclude everything, to make sure that the story finds its end, that the 7 heroes are getting fully banished, so that they don't wreak havoc over the world anymore. And the final emperor, regardless of the gender, has really, really good stats, but the female one has slightly favorable stats for us. I think it's like 1 extra speed and 2 extra dexterity, which are both the relevant stats for short sword routes. Speed mostly so we can reliably act early, and dexterity because that's what we do our damage with.
見切りですね、ソウル3を忘れないように。テンプテーションが覚えている
I
こと
am...
もあります。さあ、これで、封印
Oh,
の
it's
地に
going
向かうのですが、
back to Dreadholm?
婦人神が占領している封印の地なんですが、
What does he want from here?
恐怖の都から進む
Oh, he just used that to warp to Sealed Cave.
話なので、また 通ります。
Oh,
表皮の都
Yep.
で入り口が中院の地の中にあるモニュメントなのですが、九人氏が
It's not a big deal.
yeah, it's not that
Very
much.
中院の地の入り口から入っていくより
I guess with the route he's doing, like this little benefit.
I think I did that
この後道中で
in-
鎧装備のタイガーアーマーと
I-
黒のガラド
I
リエ
don't
ル
know if I did that in
を入手します
my run.
特に黒のガラドリエルは宝箱から入手できる最強の鎧なので忘れずに
But that is something you can do.
このチャートで
Okay,
は
now I missed the level that I actually ended up
今後
getting.
攻撃を受け止めることになる最終工程がラスボス戦でも
See, at this point, we're
黒のガラドリエルがある
really, really strong. Like, really, really strong. We have
Yeah.
I-40s, which are gonna allow us to do ridiculous damage. We have a decent amount of HP. We have Mega Thrust. Another thing that's really good about short swords, which was a personal gripe for me, because back in the day, with like early days of this game, there was a little bit of a feud between Great Sword route and Short Sword route for hard mode. It turns out that short swords ended up being the superior route by a decent margin, both in terms of like sanity, because it's easier to get the skill, as well as just general damage. Because interestingly enough, most major fights are weak, or most major enemies are weak to short swords, which is another pretty useful benefit it has. Also, another ability we obtained, which becomes available the moment you start this final generation, is Giant Killer, which is huge because that ability, it's similar to all attributes up, but instead of +1, it's +5 on everything, with the caveat that it only triggers during boss fights. Like right now, for example, it's not available because it's not the boss fight, but once we get into the boss fight, whoever has that ability, and I think it's probably the Final Empress, just gets a massive boost in stats, and like you notice, like you can almost immediately tell who has Giant Killer, because that person will just be dealing ridiculous damage.
Yeah, +5 to a stat is pretty huge. Like,
especially when it's already high.
yeah, basically, like the natural like stats of the characters go up to, I think like 25 is the highest anyone has in anything. Which like that's pretty rare. Like usually, like it's more like closer to 20 or something. And equipment, there's like I think it was called the Thief Ring that gives you 4 dexterity. So that one's also huge. But it's like aside from that, there's not that much. Like there's something that gives you like 1 dexterity or 2 dexterity. But then like when you're gonna add +5 on top of everything, like that's quite a lot.
Like with the Final Empress, we have Thief Ring for +4, we have White Gloves Plus for +2. I doubt he gets the Water Barret. But with Giant Killer and then maybe all attributes +1, we're looking at a grand total of 37 dexterity, which is massive.
You can see the difference in damage. It's like the RTA John is doing like 10k damage per Mega Thrust, and everyone else is doing like 2 to 3k.
This is actually a pretty interesting point in casual play. So usually this fight happens like 20 to 30 hours into the gameplay. What happens is Kazinsi comes back, also for inheritance magic. For assimilation magic, not inheritance magic, sorry. They have like a slightly different version of it. Different flavor of magic.
Yeah.
And he comes back through this assimilation magic and basically threatens to wreak havoc again. Initially, what made Kazinsi dangerous for the party was that he has Soul Steal and can instantly take out a character. Every character can only at a time have 8 skills that he knows and 4 skill evasions. Because everything that the enemy uses can be, or almost everything that the enemy can use can be evaded. You can learn an evasion, which have their own glimmer levels. And if you learn that evasion, you're then guaranteed to dodge that skill should it be used against you. We get the Soul Steal evasion during that forced fight earlier, but then over the course of like 20 to 30 hours casually, you're very likely to be met with at least 4 new skills to evade, and you are probably going to be forgetting about Soul Steal. So then you go to Kazinsi, and then he whips out Soul Steal, and you're just like sitting there all flabbergasted as to why your party is getting picked apart one by one. So one thing that we definitely need to look out for in the run, for example, is that we also don't forget about it, and that before we end up confronting Kazinsi, we teach everyone Soul Steal as an evasion.
Yeah, that's not even the last of Soul Steal, because like the final boss also uses that.
Right, when he comes out he uses that, but after that he mostly uses lifesteal. That's what I think.
Yeah, you only get it like once in a run, but casually also if they get to like the combo, then that's where he also uses it. Maybe you can also use it randomly, I don't know.
Too sure, but Shadow Nova is basically Soul Steal.
Shadow Nova is just like everybody dies.
Yeah.
Not just
especially
one
on Bow Road. Oh my god. I just thought about that. Bow Road dies even more to Shadow Nova.
I mean, it's not like anyone can block it anyway.
No, I'm talking about the ley lines. Instead of 10% bonus, Shadow Nova gets 30% bonus.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think Short Sword Drought like ignores the ley lines anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like it might increase like by like the boss's attacks anyway.
It's something that'll be a little bit. It's more important in higher difficulties, but we mentioned a few times like different bosses can have different affinities or like area effects. And every hero has a certain area effect to them. Like Noel had fire, Rock Bouquet had wind, Bakan had darkness. This guy, Soubier, he has water, which usually means that whoever you're fighting plays around that affinity, and that attacks of that affinity, of that element, regardless of who used it, get amplified. Every water attack at this moment is 10% stronger than usual. But everyone with a water affinity as a character also gets healing from it. In casual mode, that healing is honestly like forgettable. It's such a low percentage that even on like high level area effects, it's only what was like 0.5% of the max HP. While on hard mode, that healing can be a lot stronger. This
like the final boss, I think can reach in like, doesn't he reach in like 14,000 at like the astral ley lines on hard?
Yeah, 14 or 15,000. It's a lot.
Yeah.
He regens a lot, and it's a problem.
Yeah, also, so Subir here is one of those that like would be kind of troublesome to like try to fight before this point. Like when you're in the final generation, then you immediately like get this event where like, oh, he's at the frozen sea and like please stop him, and then you can just go there. If you wanted to do him before that, it would be troublesome, especially if you wanted to fight him in his first form. It's like nobody ever sees his first form in like this pre-make. It was more likely in the original, but still, like, if you don't know what you're doing, maybe not that likely either. But
even when you know what you're doing, it's a fairly tight timing to be able to fight him.
さあ、残念ながら最終工程が強す
So
ぎて
now we're fighting
すぐに
Victor,
倒
who
してしまい
is
ます。はい、
the brother of one of the characters we had at the very beginning of Gerard, the orange-haired guy. And the reason we fight him is twofold. For one, we get an ability called Perennial Victim, meaning that whoever has that ability equipped is going to be more likely to be targeted. It's not a big increase, especially in Dragon Stance, but it's still going to be useful probably. I don't know if he actually uses it. But more importantly, we get another Intaglio ring, which is the, I want to say, only other way to obtain that one, which again is just good defensively, but it also gives us status immunity. And now we're off to the Snowdrifts, which the Snowdrifts are kind of like the intro to the final dungeon. You're gonna be going through here, which is a long room, and then you're going into the Den of Umbrage, which that in itself has 3 levels and then a final floor called Terminus. Usually you would have to walk for the entirety of Snowdrift and then for the entirety of each of the different levels of the final dungeon and fight bosses at the end of those, concluding in the Terminus, which houses the final boss of the game. But thanks to the warp glitch that Shu demonstrated earlier and is probably going to be using again, I don't see why he wouldn't.
Or not?
I guess he won't because reasons. The warp glitch would allow him to skip this second half of the Snowdrift, as well as traversing the first and third floor of the Den of Umbrage, which are both like fairly long.
Maybe he just wants to show as much of the game as possible.
Maybe.
The other warp glitch just showed us more things. This one would skip things.
Yeah, true.
So that's another Avalonia. That's another 2.5 million.
Yeah, but he could get that with the warp glitch and then just warp back because he has the Den of Umbrage unlocked. So what is back
Yeah.
there? Oh, a magnificent horn.
さあいよいよラストダンジョンの入り口
Didn't really know
なん
about
ですが、
Well, regardless, he's gonna go for the final dungeon. All that changes is that he has to traverse the second half of the Snowdrifts, which he just did. And he also has to traverse the entirety of the third floor, which that one is long. That takes a while. I did not know you can jump on that
さ
crystal.
あ入った後は、屋内とは思えないような異空間のような様相となっております。はい、
Yeah, final dungeon, 3 different levels, as I mentioned. It has 3 bosses, 1 per end of floor. The first one is one that can actually be really troublesome casually because it's a Hydra with 3 heads, which also means that he gets 3 attacks per turn, and that enemy is not to be taken lightly because it can deal a lot of damage. So you'd usually want to have something or someone set up as a kind of tank to make sure that they can absorb a lot of the hits. Otherwise, you're just gonna have stray hits be thrown left, right, and center, and just lose track of the fight very quickly. But other than that fight is not really complicated. It's one of the few fights where short swords don't have the advantage because it doesn't have a weakness to it.
Yeah. Casually also, you can put him to sleep, which is a very good way to mitigate damage. But having sleep available, mostly you would have it with the club weapons. I don't think there's anything else you would really be able to use.
I
mean, you could technically... I don't know if you can stun him. Actually, if you could... if you could, we would be using Glamour Blade with the weaker ones.
先ほどのスービエと同じで3回攻撃をしてきます。同じよう
We
に
can also just delete more overdrives.
Also to like mention one thing about overdrives is that like basically overdrive bypasses the like enemy resistances and weaknesses and just like sets the damage you deal to always be 2 times that of normal. So like if you're using overdrive when the enemy is weak to that damage type anyway, the difference isn't as big as if you use overdrive when the enemy is not weak or even resistant to it.
最後のウィリアムの攻撃で
But of course, like in this case, when the boss is not weak to short sword, you're not going to gain any overdrive gauge during the fight. So you can go in with a full bar and use it once, and that gives you a pretty big like benefit for the fight. But after that, you're just gonna like come out of the fight with like nothing left.
Which isn't too big of a problem because the next fight we're gonna be able to charge up our overdrive again because the Insect Queen is weak against short swords.
つまり皇帝がジャンプすることでほんの少しですが移動を短縮することができます。時間にして20フレーム、1秒60フレームほどなので 0.33 秒といったところですね。
Well, heavy suit is one of those things that got buffed in the 1.1 update.
Yeah, that's true. So 1.1.
Let me check the numbers.
What the
Heavy suit itself went from 96 physical defense to 122 and 40 magic defense to 55.
Yeah, especially heavy, not heavy, but full body armor. The way it works is it takes up all the slots in your armor, all of your armor slots, so body, helmet, gauntlets, hands and shoes. But in return, the idea is that it also gives you high defensive stats. It does slow you down, which is usually not that good. But originally, the defensive stats you'd be getting were honestly pretty lackluster. Like, I don't think I've ever felt compelled to using full body armor.
Oh, I mean, there was absolutely no reason because, like, they gave less defense than the sum of their parts for some reason.
Negative speed.
Well, okay. I mean, the reason basically was that I think they used the. I think the values were based on like the OG game, and there the benefit was that like you always had 4 armor slots, and using full body armor just meant that you could not equip any other like pieces that would like go into those slots, but you could still equip 3 accessories on top of that. Whereas like if you equipped all the individual parts, then you would like waste all your slots on those and not have room for accessories. So like that was the original idea for the balancing, and it just like doesn't work that way in the remake. But they didn't really like increase the defense of the full body armor to compensate. But in the 1.1 update they did, and now it's like actually kind of good.
Yeah, now they're pretty good. Like Harmonia suit is really nice because it also barely slows you down. Heavy suit and heavy suit plus especially are really good for higher difficulties where the damage is really high and you can then mitigate some of that. Especially if you use something like Dragon Stance where you only need 1 fast character. You can try and ensure he survives through other means, their abilities to allow you to do that, or just like other armor constellations that might be more difficult to come by, like Black Galadriel, for example, which is really good in defense and barely slows you down. But then everyone else, like have the main character at the front be fast, everyone else can just wear the heaviest armor available, have negative 10 speed for all I care, or for all the game cares rather, and you still are able to get your set turn order because Dragon Stance is just that good.
Yeah, the only issue really with full body armor is still that like none of those come with stat bonuses or like any other benefit than just pure defense. So if you want to maximize your damage, then like that's just not gonna be the best option.
世代目の皇帝継承、こちらもハンターが出てきてほしいところでしたが
Benefits like
なかなか
the speed increase through specific shoes or dexterity increase through
最後は
gauntlets or helmets are lost that way. Yeah.
まあ本当に
Or strength increase.
一戦目の一
Yeah, but of course, usually, like in this game, you're gonna have like probably like 2 characters that are more like
ここからは
of a like support role. They're casting like supportive spells like firewall or healing,
戦で
things like that.
残りの時間が増えます
So they don't really need to have
三層の
like
ディアブロ
you know the best stats or anything. So it's like it's definitely like good uses for just like heavy armor.
をしてきますさあ、連携ゲージは溜まっていますが、この後もうゲージを貯める戦闘がないので、最終戦までゲージは取った置いた状態で進めていきます。さあ、最初の逃げ気は RTA ちゃんが受けてくれましたね。さあ、乱れ好き、ここまで来ると乱れ好き連打をしていき、さあ2回目の行動、ヘルファイアが後ろにもう1回は飛んできて、あーっと毒斬りですね、全体攻撃なのでちょっと痛かったですが、ウィリアムがギリギリ生き残ってくれました。
耐えてますね
というかで、ここまで耐えてくれればこのターンで片付けられるので、
Now we're fighting Diablo. Diablo again doesn't have a weakness to short swords,
はい、今回も
which kind of dictates the strategy that we go for
最後の3層
here because we want to make sure that we have overdrive available for
おめでとうございます
the final boss. I'm not sure if he's going to use someone Wagnus, probably not because he's stronger. But filling up the overdrive would be a little bit of a nuisance now because we'd have to take extra battles. What we do instead is we just preserve our overdrive. He now entered and left that area. Why is he doing that?
ラストダンジョンのファストラベルを登録
He's
But it
going
must have
back
been an
up.
accident since it's going back.
Yeah.
のトラベル
I assume so.
仕様というよりかバグなのかそういう現象が起きまして、なので今エレベーターを上下することで
I mean, There's probably still I think there's some like menuing that he still wants to do like
最後に待ち構えております
back in
最後の一人
Avalon,
Yeah.
but he would
はい
do that after Magnus.
ワグナスとの戦いになります。このワグナス
Definitely. So with Wagnus, we
ラストダンジョン
now have again an enemy that is
なので RTA だと、最後に
not
送られる
weak to short swords. Yeah.
というわけで、ワグナ
Let
ス
me gauge for the damage he deals.
にあ
He.
る地層ですね。これが
I mean, he can just eat a firestorm and that's fine. It's probably still fast and filling up the overdrive again. So what he's gonna do is he's just gonna attack once Wagnus goes below half HP. Oh no, before. Below the first third, it seems. He's then gonna start with Firestorm, which initiates the second phase, has a little cutscene. But all of that is still better than having to fill up your overdrive again, because filling up your overdrive just requires an extra battle. You have to find that battle and all that.
多分耐えれると思います。
You really
どんどん削りに
don't
いってますね。
need to mess with any of that. And
Really?
Firestorm.
Like
on
it'd
casual,
take
it's
10
not bad.
attacks, right?
Yeah.
Like 10 attacks hitting an enemy weakness. Like take some time.
ギリ耐えてます。
Yeah.
というわけで、横
Everyone
に、
survived. That's
雑魚敵
easy.
が出てきておりますが
And、then he's probably gonna be warping back real quick to set up for his correct party, because as of right now, he still has his B team available,
今回も
as we call it. So the team that is delegated to disposing of all the bosses,
できましたね
so that the guys in the tavern can go and grind a little bit.
なんですが、この後、ラスボス戦の七英雄を控えているんですが、ここで
Yeah, he's now gonna go back,
に戻り
finish
ま
up
す
his
武器屋の開発もこれで
menu and get his main party in,
まずは実法研究所で
and then beat the game with that. Like, he doesn't have his mole with him, he doesn't have his ranger female with him. He also gonna get firewall, as then mentioned a few times. That one is vital for even like finishing a game, kinda, especially in a speedrun setting.
アイテムを売ることで、必要なお金を回収して
And now he's gonna go and
こちらの開発も
oh yeah, he obtained,
いろいろなの
was it Harmonia armor or silver mail that he got there? didn't quite pay attention.
さあ、あとは
He did get some armor from the smithy that is now done.
数買います。
I was silver
ガラ
main.
ドリエルなどがあるので、白銀のジェルは2つ。
And just gonna set up with some more armor just to make sure that the final boss doesn't hit him too hard.
今までも
In a regular run, you'd probably not go as hard on the
ではなかったということですね。
armor,
キャサリンとレゴを改めて
but
加え
the
て
final boss can be
装備を
really
行います装備の確認をまずはいたしましょう。
destructive, so
この
you'd
後
want to
ですね
make sure that you
技道場
can
で
actually
メダリ付
survive.
きを覚えて、戦闘の準備が整うという流れですが、ここミスるとですね、七英雄非常に強くて本当に容赦ないので、
Gonna set everyone up
きっ
with
ちりと確認をしていき
strong
ましょう。
short swords. Make sure everyone has the correct shield, which he seems to be using the, I think it's the Templar shield?
のために
Oh, one of
Not the
the
obsidian.
defense increasing shields.
Yeah, he's using a defense increase shield, which there are two types of shields. We didn't really talk about those. Great shields and I guess small shields or parry shields or whatever you want to call them. The parry shield or small shield have a lower chance to act, but if they act, they block the entire attack and you take no damage. While the great shields, which also got buffed in the patch actually, have a way higher chance to actually block. Like this one has 60%, which is not the highest. I think it can go up to 70%, while from with the regular shields, the highest it can go is 35%. But they instead increase your defensive stat massively, which just means that it's he's not gonna like be able to brush off the attacks as easy because he still takes damage. But instead of being less likely to just avoid the damage, he just makes it more likely that the damage he takes is as minimal as possible. This final boss is all just like we've mentioned a few times, but this entire thing is just luck-based kind of. Oh, is he gonna
seems like
play out?
it seems like it was metal shield that he has.
Oh, metal shield. All right,
so,
I guess
that one got buffed from 45 to 60% chance to trigger and 32 to 48 defense increase. Pretty big buff there.
Now you're gonna see the power of the 7 heroes combined to one giant, slightly moldy meatball.
Yeah, so like the story goes that it's like this is actually like the real bodies that are just like kind of one blob here, and like the other guys that we fought before were just like kind of some kind of like apparitions or I don't know what to call it. It's like some kind of like forms that they are taking like in the outside world.
He didn't get Mega Frost for the other dudes. I was wondering why the camera angle is so weird. That's another like classic going into the final fight with suboptimal techniques.
全部忘れてるじゃん。
肝心なところですよ。まあそういうこともございます。
I have a lot of those too.
気づいてよかったむしろ。
It just tends to happen. It's just something that's very easily forgotten because throughout this entire generation, you only had to care about getting your skills ready once, and at the very end, you want to change your party, and then you're at the final boss, you're seeing the wrong animation, and you're just wondering, like, why did I forget that? It happens over and over.
Yeah, and you know, I don't think there's ever anyone who's gone like oh, I forgot something for the final boss, but like I think it's gonna be fine, and then actually win.
No. You're never fine. Not final bosses. Like if you're not set up properly, you need a miracle and a half, and this game barely hands you a full miracle.
Yeah. Something that I want to note about like the preparation for this fight is that there's one big like AoE attack that they can do randomly called Lunar Blade. So that one's like the main thing that can like just like ruin your attempt, just like out of pure luck. you can block that, which is why like having shields available is very like a very good way to like negate that. But the other thing is that it's like both like sword and dark type. So
Oh, Matador? What?
ooh, okay, well that's a nice
pretty
bonus.
nice. Didn't realize I didn't get it yet.
Yeah, there's a counter move that like you can glimmer that on top of like something else that you use, so it's like extra damage and negating damage. But like otherwise you wouldn't really use it during this fight.
Also, overdrive.
Yeah, also this turn is like guaranteed gonna be tidal wave. Another okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky with evasions.
So yeah, turn 3 is where you wanna have firewall because of that. Like that hits hard.
Turn 2, you could technically also get hit by red Drake Wave, but we usually like pretend that it doesn't happen because you would lose on damage if you prepare.
On casual mode you wouldn't die at least. On hard mode you would like reset immediately because like it would just be over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I wanted to mention like with Lunar Blade, because it's like both physical and magical, you need to have both like physical and magical defense to like survive it reasonably. Like that's another reason why it's so like tough to go against that. And so far so good, and like well, we could definitely afford to see one Lunar Blade here.
Auto parry.
Oh right.
Yeah, he got auto parry during the ability grind.
Yeah, typically you wouldn't like have that for like world record attempts, but like yeah, just like negated damage there, making this more consistent.
Auto parry basically gives you a 40% chance to parry any incoming physical attack as long as the character has a sword equipped somewhere. Otherwise, you would have to manually use parry as a skill. But with auto parry, you just
Ooh, okay.
can have it happen.
Well, so much for that auto parry, but okay, extra Matador. It's a problem because like now the formation is broken, and also like that person needed to use firewall before reviving the fallen party member. So like now one party member doesn't have firewall.
I guess he just doesn't have firewall. Either he doesn't have firewall in Final Empress or he misplayed. Because, yeah,
Well,
you
I mean, it ended up being fine in terms of fireball.
it did work, yeah. You're lucky that he didn't get Red Drake Wave and or Tidal Wave or Call Lightning.
Yeah.
But now we
it could
actually
have been
see
a
the
lot
second
worse.
part. This is what we usually want to skip because this part is scary. First, always initiates with Astral Gate, which will banish a party member and give him confuse.
Yeah, but
Luckily,
which actually that targeted
that
someone.
guy,
Where-
he has Intaglio Ring.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, yeah, he does.
And
again.
because the formation didn't get broken,
Yes, fine.
therefore, he
wins.
was able to just attack immediately. Otherwise, this would usually break your formation, and then one of the enemies would go first. He actually had the worst free enemies available there. Volcan can Marionette, Wagner says Cyber Shot, Noel can Red Drake Wave. He got the best possible scenario within the worst possible scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't really mention that, but Bakan has Marionette, which, like, if that goes before your party, then your party is basically gonna be, like, confused for that turn. So they might, like, randomly attack your own party. So it's like, that's, like, another reason why you really want to act first.
But other than that, that was Romancing Saga 2. The final boss didn't even show its teeth all that much. Like, Shu forgot the proper setup once, but outside of that, this was actually pretty nice. It didn't really get too... Like, RNG was fairly kind throughout the run. His preparations for this definitely paid off.
いやもう本当に集中して。
Yeah, it might have been without those extra preparations. It might have been a little.
開発していってっていうので
Yeah.
できたので本当に。
It's pretty typical for SaGa speedruns that you have something a little extra for marathon runs to make things more consistent.
わかりま
はい、
した。
スタッフロールのまま終わりにさせていただきたいと思います。
Thank you very much. I am Pinjan. I am the new host for the next couple hours, and I enjoyed very much listening, talking to bed, all of this beautiful and comfy commentary from the both of you. Very good run. To watch as well for beginning the day. And also for anyone interested in the game, it is currently on Steam sale, 40% off for anyone who wants to buy it up until January 5th. Are you currently doing more runs on this game for the both of you?
So personally, I've not been doing as much of any percent. I was doing more completionist runs for a little while. I was thinking of going back to that, or maybe going for some of the other any percent categories that I haven't done yet, because there's the glitched version pretty much and the glitchless version, which we mostly saw just now. There's a New Game Plus category. There's a lot of ways to play through this game. Definitely some unexplored territory, so at least on my end, I'll definitely be doing some more of that game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the kind of guy to do more like crowding, and like I also like I made like the load remover for this, and like worked on some mods and some other stuff like that. I don't know if I'm like gonna actually do more speedruns of this, but you know, I'm gonna be around and like look into things if you know, if we're looking into like new categories or anything like that.
I guess we will see what 2026 will be planning for you then in terms of runs and gaming accomplishment, I guess.
半年ぐらい保持してたんですけど取られてて。
But in the meantime, while we are finishing this run and all the, I guess on Shu's side, the final messages, we will be accessing next to a short Mega Man block with Mega Man Maverick, Hunter X and Mega Man X3, both commentated by Zero for the next 2 runs, and then Donkey Country Returns HD. I'll be signing off before while welcoming Zero. We will be back in a couple of minutes. Thank you again for the commentary, and see you in a minute.
All right, thank you.